welcome everyone. Let's get that music playing. And we are going to be talking about Steven Spielberg, the GOAT, possibly. There's going to be lots of glazing of goats because arguably Steven Spielberg is, in fact, the greatest of all time. Well, usually it depends on the person, very subjective, but considering the breadth of his filmography, he has directed, well, we are going to be talking about 35 of his films today. Now some might count others as like first films, this film, that. So obviously this is just what is considered and what is available to us. So we are going to be talking about the illustrious and very amazing career of Steven Spielberg. Say what you will about other great directors, Kurosawa, Nolan, John Ford, so many amazing directors that has been part of film history. But with Steven Spielberg, it's just quite different because he is pretty much a master of almost any genre. He's done action adventure, he's done horror, he's done comedies, he's done musicals, he's done war, he's done science fiction. He has truly done everything, and everything pretty much to near perfection. And we're gonna be glazing him all night long. So this is probably gonna be a 2-hour tier list Tuesday, but we don't care because we are talking about greatness today. And in honor of his upcoming film, with his return to the alien subgenre of sci-fi, which he hasn't touched in about 21 years, let's hope that it lives up to the rest of his filmography. I can't imagine it won't, because he rarely has ever made a bad movie, or maybe to some people he hasn't made a bad movie, period. We'll get into that, of course. But before this goes on a little bit too long, let's truly get into the greatness. I am, of course, your host, John. It's very lovely to see you all. There are some people in the chat already. Enterprising already in here, and then Acres of Movies already. We're going to be getting into your questions soon, don't worry. But remember, guys, vote for Fancast Friday. We have the poll up. It should be a nice mishmash of stuff. And then, of course, obviously, for today's tier list, go vote for your favorite Spielberg films or least favorite Spielberg films, or just troll the chat and just rate everything D tier. We see you, Yash. All right, so we know what you do. But Dan is going to join in a minute. So before we get started with the goat glazing, we are going to be getting, well, I mean, it's still technically goat glazing because many consider Pixar to be one of, if not the greatest animation studio of all time. So we're going to be talking about that, which is what we did last week. So this was our list, our combined list. We had WALL-E, Toy Story, Finding Nemo, or sorry, my bad. Toy Story 2, Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Toy Story 3, Up, Coco, Incredibles, Monsters, Inc., Turning Red, and WALL-E in S tier. Then you had Inside Out, Ratatouille, Hoppers, and Soul in A tier. And then we had Toy Story 4 at the lowest with B tier. Then, of course, for most votes, it was pretty much the same, although a couple go down one. Monsters, Inc. goes to A tier, and then Turning Red has gone to B tier. And then the average vote, a lot of things remain in S tier, while Hoppers also goes down to B tier, and then some other things go down to A tier. So yeah, this was our list. Toy Story 2, 6 and 3. Toy Story 8 and 2. Finding Nemo 7-2-1. Toy Story 3 6-1-2. Up 5-4. Coco 4-3-1. Incredibles 7-2. Monsters Inc. 4-5. Turning Red 1-1-3-1-1. WALL-E 8-1. Inside Out 3-4-2. Ratatouille 4-2-3. Hoppers 4-2-1. Soul 1-3-3-1. And then Toy Story 4 1-5-2. That was the voting, and with all of that, let's properly get into. Obviously, now what we try to do sometimes is we try to have like the movie list, and then we talk about our tier list. But considering how friggin' long it is, we're just gonna get into the tier list first. This was the poll, like not really matters because it was all Steven Spielberg movies. Although everyone picked the most obvious option of Steven Spielberg films and doing that one. So thank you for your votes, even though it didn't matter. So yeah, good times had by all. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's properly get into it. Because this is gonna be very fun. I don't know if Dan is back yet, but we're gonna. I'm not gonna rank anything without him. Don't worry. Um, I think it is rare for Spielberg to miss. We do have between the two of us, we pretty much have everything. There are a couple that neither of us have seen, but hopefully you guys in the chat will help us with that, and we will be talking about that. So, luckily, the first film that we will be talking about is, in fact, Duel, which is a movie I have seen, but Dan hasn't. So I guess it is kind of perfect that Dan is on a little bit of a delay because I can talk about a film that I've seen and he hasn't. So Duel was technically his first movie. I mean, he did have one movie before this called Firelight or Fireflight, but it was like it's lost. It doesn't exist anymore, and with that, you can't find it online. So this is the movie that is attributed as Steven Spielberg's first. It was a TV movie with Dennis Weaver. It is apparently he cuts off a truck, and the truck is pissed, and it's just a game of cat and mouse of this beaten down, rough, rusty truck, essentially just trying to fucking just destroy this guy's life. So just watch out for road rage, folks. But yes, that brings us to our first. Now, Duel, I would say, is a pretty great film. I would say, in terms of like comparisons to the breadth of his work, is probably not like, oh my god, the greatest, of all time, but I will say it is a damn good one. Um I thought Dennis Weaver did give a very good performance here. I mean, he's the only one you really are like kind of sticking with there. Um and pretty much all he has. So, it's I would say it's a very good film. It's a good performance, a lot of tension, a lot of suspense. It definitely feels like almost like a modernized Hitchcock in a lot of ways. Um but with a very different lens, and how he does it is very, very well done. So, with all of this, not the greatest, but like in terms of, a start, it's definitely damn good. So the first, I would say, if I had to put it anywhere, I would say I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it's a very good film. I think I think it's very fun, very interesting, and I liked it a hell of a lot. So yeah, still don't know where Dan is, because the next film that we will be talking about is, um, in fact, the Goldie Hawn starring Sugarland Express. I have not seen this movie. This was his first proper feature, and nobody really remembers it. Everyone kind of goes more towards Duel because everyone remembers that one, because it was so simple but so effective. Nobody really, not like in a bad way, because I don't think Sugarland Express is a bad movie in any way, shape, or form. Um, yeah, so enterprising. Which movie are you talking about? Are you talking about Duel, or are you talking about Sugarland Express? Which one are you talking about? I'm very curious because I do plan to watch the movies I have not seen before Disclosure Day. It's sort of like a catch up of, like, all the great things that Spielberg has done. So yeah. Um Dan, I need some help here because I have not seen this movie, so I don't know. So we're gonna just still wait on him. Yeah, I'm gonna uh okay. Um okay, so here's what I'm gonna do, because we're still waiting on Dan. We're gonna jump around. Oh, there he is. Hey.
Sorry, sorry. Was a bit of a emergency, so I
Okay,
am.
that's fine.
I'm here.
But
Holy shit, that's a lot of movies. I didn't even know tier maker allowed that many movies to be on there.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like limitless. I've seen like
Wow.
stuff with like
That's
all,
okay.
but I ranked Duel. I put Duel
Yes.
in A. I have seen
Okay.
that movie. You have not. So, time for a movie that you have seen and I have not, and that is Sugarland Express, which is his first theatrical feature. So,
Yeah, this is one of those movies where it's not you don't remember. Well, let me. Everybody knows Spielberg. The fact that like there's a term called Spielbergian, right? Very few filmmakers will ever achieve this status, of, oh, you made something Spielbergian. JJ, like you could, like Christopher Nolan has today, like a lot of disciples, as it were, but like, um, there's even like JJ Abrams, and you've got Matt Reeves. All these guys looked up to Steven Spielberg, and the thing about Steven Spielberg is, much like a lot of filmmakers, he didn't start out making those iconic movies out the gate. He made movies like the Sugarland Express, which, I mean, Goldie Hawn, obviously we know her as a big film star, but like this was a movie that had a budget of just $3 million, came out in the '70s, and it's an interesting little movie. I mean, Goldie Hawn plays a character called Lou Jean, and essentially it's about, yeah, a small time crook. So and the couple, they lose their child, and to the state of Texas, and then they try to do what they can to get regain custody. And yeah, it's kind of got like the Wild West vibes to it. I saw it in film school, and so it's been a while, but it is, one of those films where it's not quite a western, because Steven Spielberg has said that he's never done a western,
it's more like a
but it's,
neo-western a
yeah,
little bit,
it's
like a
it's
road
like
trip
because
neo-western a
like a
little bit.
proper western, like that. Spielberg hasn't done that, but literally his first feature was, like you said, like a neo western of sorts. So yeah, I mean, it's also got Michael Sachs in it. He plays a police officer that's taken hostage by the two characters, Goldie Hawn's character and William Atherton's character. So it's a good movie. I know we have so many of these to talk about, so I don't want to spend too much time on this one. It is from, again, very early days of Steven Spielberg. Like, if you were Sir President Christopher Nolan fan, then this, I think, maybe not even his Memento. I mean, I guess you could say more Memento, because it does have a $3 million budget. So it is it is I mean, $3 million in 1974 is a lot more money today. So and Memento was sort of like that, where it was like semi-studio supported. So I personally would put it in B tier. I kind of agree with what Enterprising is saying. It's solid, but it's they're not like peak Spielberg movies. So we're gonna get there, but this is, and
I mean,
who's
we've
to
already
blame him?
gotten
It's
there
it's
in terms of peak Spielberg. We're there already. We're here. This, I mean, like motherfucking Jaws,
facts.
bro.
Yeah,
Like
not wrong about that.
his
Facts.
his second theatrical film and third film out the gate,
Mm-hmm.
one of the greatest movies ever made. Boom. There we
It's
go.
John. By the way,
Despite the
everybody,
fucking
it's
gigantic production problems called Bruce the Shark, you know.
the gigantic production problem that was
Yeah.
Bruce the Shark.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, and then the other one being a drunk Robert Shaw, but
yeah.
like, there's that. But
Well,
like,
you got to manage your characters, and not just the actors, but the actors and the characters and the character actors. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. John, everybody knows that it was Jaws combined with, the other early work of Spielberg that gave him the reputation of, this guy goes over budgets, and his movies can be a mess to make. So he wasn't really the producer's best friend at that point in Hollywood.
no,
But when the movie came out, it turns out, like, obviously less was more, or less is more, and never more
nobody
so
cared about
true.
production problems. They
Yeah,
just, they're
like
like, this is great.
like
Don't worry, we'll get there when we get
yeah.
there. I mean, there's a lot of movies to talk about, so we'll. I know you've asked. Don't worry, we'll get there. I think there are a few like really
Yeah.
underrated Spielberg movies we'll get to. So
I
yeah,
will say
don't
though,
worry.
I'm sure some of you guys might already know this. Fun fact: the term blockbuster was invented by a journalist covering Jaws
Yep.
and talking about like the lines going around the side of the buildings, people trying to get into the multiplexes to the movie theaters. They were, literally, it was a blockbuster in the most, literal sense, and that's where the term blockbuster comes from. So Steven Spielberg, and more specifically Jaws, is the reason why we have that term
Yeah.
in our
Well,
vernacular.
because it was such
So
a small film. Because what
yeah.
films were, and apologize if I get like some idiosyncrasies
Hmm.
wrong, but initially what films were is they would go from city to city. They
Right.
would go from like New York to like Miami to Chicago to LA. Like it would go across the country. Like it would, you know, play here, these major, theaters, these major cities, blah blah blah. And then it would go from major city to major city. And then the next run was like smaller, not totally independent, like smaller chains. And then much later it would reach like very small, like mom and pop shop kind of theaters. This was the first movie because I don't know if it was like they couldn't afford it or they were just like, it's in time for summer, so let's just take advantage of it, where they released the film all at once in every city. And it was, again, because of that, it's not just inventing the blockbuster, but the idea of like a movie being released simultaneously across the
Like a true
country.
wide
That
release.
was
Right.
never done
Yeah.
before Jaws. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, that's how movies are. That's not how movies are. That is a recent invention from 1976. So, 1975. So it was because of that now movies have one release date across an entire country rather than, oh, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. And then like over the course of like months and months, it would eventually get to fucking like Topeka, Kansas, like a year
Right.
after it like released in New York. So, maybe not that long, but you know what I mean. Um, so yeah, let's just put it
Yeah.
in S tier because I
I mean,
mean,
it's not only everything surrounding the movie, the soundtrack. I mean, this became like one of the early collaborations. Was this? It must have been
this was the
John
first between
Williams
John Williams
collaboration
and because
with
like
Steven
Steven
Spielberg.
Spielberg walked in, he's like, okay, show me
So
the music, and then he does the
yeah,
music. He's like, you can't be serious. He's like, that's not what it is. He's like, that's what it is. And he's like,
that's what it is.
seriously,
It's and it
two
became
notes.
iconic. Two notes, very simple, and not only that, but John, the dolly zoom existed before. Like, there was a movie called Vertigo that famously used the dollies and those effects and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the most iconic, famous shots in movies ever of all time is that dolly zoom shot
Of
when you
Roy Scheider when he
of Roy
sees the
Schneider when he
shark
sees the
attack
shark on the
the
beach.
kid.
And yeah, it just goes to show you that again, Steven Spielberg as a visual storyteller, was already showing that he's one of the best in the game from
Yeah.
an early, part of his
And
career.
on
This
top
is
of the
his
fact, it's
second
funny
feature
how he's
film.
like, "Oh yeah, I've never
Yeah.
made a horror movie, motherfucker. You've made a horror movie, and it's Jaws. All right, like you can. Oh, it's
Yeah.
a no,
It's
buddy.
a
You
horror
made a horror
movie.
movie. It's a lot of genres. It's like it's adventure. It's
It's a
got a bit of
thriller.
action,
Yeah.
drama, thriller. It's got
Mhm.
everything. This is kind of like, what many people say about The Princess Bride. It's got
Mhm.
everything in it that it's just like
Right.
you can't help but you know
Yeah.
just amazing.
Oh, it
Amaze,
is.
amaze,
It is.
amaze.
Amaze, amaze, amaze. Which, by the way, speaking with Spielbergian, Project Hail Mary is a very Spielbergian movie,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where it comes from. Yeah, S tier. There's gonna be so many of these, but that definitely
Yeah, I
belongs
mean,
up there.
there's gonna be so many, including the fucking next movie, which is like
Oh
Close
God,
Encounters of the Third
those counts the
Kind.
third kind. Probably the single greatest alien contact, movie ever made for a lot of. It's also the fact that this is an opinion that is almost universal amongst fans of the genre. Um, we're gonna get to War of the Worlds, and that's also definitely got horror elements to it. Um, MTG was watching LeBron in the playoffs. I don't blame you, man. And yes, he is still the goat or one of the goats. But speaking of the goats, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which by the way is based on the um real life story of, what was it, Doctor somebody, Alan Hynek, I think is the name of the um name of, yeah, based on the true. It's kind of loosely based on it, of Dr. J. Allen Hynek. They actually made a show called Project Blue Book, that used to run on the History Channel for a couple of seasons, which is a program that Dr. J. Allen Hynek was a part of, which was an Air Force run program that actually investigated, UFO sightings and incidents, back in the 40s and 50s, I believe. And most of them were ruled out as, like, there were explanations for them. And so Steven Spielberg kind of like went and gathered witness testimonies, looking at like whatever research was available at the time, and other reports, and especially, of course, using the classification system for alien contact, as in the title of the movie, that was developed by Dr. J. Allen Hynek. In fact, the lead character in the movie is sort of loosely based on him. And he was, I think, Dr. Hynek kind of makes a bit of a cameo in the movie, if I'm not wrong. And he was definitely like a consultant on the film too.
Mhm.
So I have a great appreciation for this, and that's what we're doing, this whole tier list in honor of Disclosure Day coming out. And so it really does feel like a full circle moment for Spielberg, because for the goat, he's going back to the well that he was, first, going down in the 70s, right? So, Close
Yeah.
Encounters of the Third Kind, only his third feature film, 1977 to now 2026, almost 50 years later. Kind of similar to how the last time we went to the
He
moon was
could,
in the
and
late
what was funny,
70s,
he
and
almost
we just
had
did
an
that.
alien movie
So,
every decade,
yeah.
because I mean 70s, 80s, we almost got Indiana Jones and the Saucer Men from
Mhm.
Mars in the 90s, not quite. Then we got Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in the 2000s. We got nothing in the 2010s, and we got War of the Worlds and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in the
Mhm.
2000s, nothing in the 2010s, and now we're getting one in the 2020s. So, it almost balances itself out. So that's
Yeah.
very.
I mean, for me, Close Encounters is an S tier movie.
For me,
Uh,
I would probably put it in A. I don't love it as much as his other
Hi, Marvel
alien
Cuphead.
movies, but Close Encounters is a fucking phenomenal
Yeah.
movie. So I'm not gonna complain, and
I
I'm not
just
gonna die on the hill of like, oh, it needs to be an A. I'll put it in S tier.
I
Like
look,
that's like
I understand the A tier, but I just think it's S tier. That's a
I
personal
think like
bias. I fully admit it.
it
So yeah.
does have some like awkward pacing issues for me.
Hmm.
But like it's like it's nothing. It's no. It's like not even a yeah. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Next movie. Now this is the first one where neither of us have seen it. This is 1941, which is widely considered Spielberg's worst movie. It's largely forgotten about. It was actually written by Robert Zemeckis
Robert
and Bob
Zemeckis. Yep.
Gale. This was like one of their first major movies, and it just was like an onslaught to the senses, but not in the good way. And it just I've seen bits and
It
pieces. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like the worst thing ever, but again, I can't really judge it too much. But because I mean I haven't seen it all. I can only judge it from like the what
So
little footage that I've seen. But it's like essentially a big blockbuster wartime screwball comedy, and it just for a lot of people it just didn't work. And this was the movie
yeah.
that like because of this, Robert Zemeckis, because the famous urban legend, well, not urban legend because it's true, but like the famous story of Back to the Future getting denied 44
Hmm.
times from studios. This movie is the reason why, because after this failed, nobody wanted to touch Zemeckis and Gale. And so when they were submitting Back to the Future to all these studios, they were like, fuck no. So they had to go and I think Used Cars also was like a really bad movie at the time. So nobody was wanted to touch him. So then they're like, okay, fine. Then they made Romancing the Stone, which a lot of people liked, and then they're
Right.
like, okay, now you made something good, so now we'll actually come begging. And then Back to the Future happened, and yeah. So this was the movie why Back to the Future almost never happened. So yeah,
Well, I
I
was gonna
can't
say
really judge it, but maybe
this
you
this
guys in the
movie
side chat have seen it. So
I was looking up reviews for this earlier because again I didn't have the time to see the whole movie, and then I also was watching the trailers. It has Dan Aykroyd in it.
Yep.
It's got Ned Beatty in it.
It's
It's
got
got a
John. I mean,
talented
John
cast.
Belushi is right there.
Yeah,
So
John Belushi, exactly. And it's a movie so essentially it's a movie about Californians hilariously in this movie preparing for a Japanese invasion right after Pearl Harbor has happened. So obviously 1941, that's why, and it's so, but to take the panic and all that into more of a comedic sense, you got Nancy Allen in the movie as well. Um, and yeah, it's a war comedy. It did get nominated for 3 Oscars. I don't remember if it won any. Obviously I wasn't around to to see that, but like when I was doing some research I saw that it was nominated for best cinematography, best visual effects, and best sound. uh and the budget for this was 35 million, which is 10 times what Steven Spielberg had for his first feature film that we talked about. Why am I forgetting the name of that one? It was
Sugarland
uh,
Express.
Sugarland Express. Um, I want to say Duel, but that's not that's not the first proper feature. So anyway, yes, he was moving up in the world. He's coming off the success of Jaws. I think this just ended up being a movie where you could tell, some elements of like his storytelling that then make it into Saving Private Ryan. Obviously, Saving Private Ryan is a very different kind of a war movie, especially talking about World War II. Um, but 1941 definitely did not quite hit the same way. I don't know, John. Should we stick this in D tier?
I don't know. I don't think that's fair. I have seen bits and pieces, and it does look funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to put it in D tier automatically because neither of us have seen it. I think I'll be nice and put it in C tier. Like, I don't think it deserves, like, if it's like a truly horrendously awful movie, which from what I've seen of it, it doesn't look. It just looks like a bad comedy, which is just like stupid but not funny. Like, it's like, all right, like,
Just to let you know, there's over 10,000 popcorn meter ratings, and it's ranked 48% or percentage number. And the audience that's the audience rating. The tomato meter is 39% off 28 reviews. So just and not that Rotten Tomatoes existed back then, but it looks like they have
yeah,
aggregated reviews. Like for example, Sight and Sound, which is like the Sight and Sound is the publication through which we get the whole Citizen Kane is the greatest movie of all time. 1941, they said 1941 is perhaps one of those films that should be seen twice, so that disappointed expectations over the wayward behavior of the slapstick no longer get in the way of pleasure over what goes on alongside it. I think it was just a expectation versus reality thing, where the first time you watch it, you're like, "What the hell am I watching?" And the second time you enjoy it a bit more because you know what you're getting yourself into. They thought it was a good movie. The New York Times, on the other hand, did not. Where they said it may possibly be that Mr. Spielberg has chosen gigantic size and unlimited quantity as his comedy method, in the awareness that he has no gift whatsoever for small scale comic conceits, which is a very rough assessment. So anyway, John, where did you say you wanted to put it?
I'm gonna put it in C tier. I don't know. It just feels wrong to put a Steven Spielberg movie in D tier. So
Dude, we're about to talk about artificial intelligence later in the show, and don't you worry, there will be some D tier movies in this. I thought there was an F tier. I would have put it in F tier. Well, not this one, but we'll talk about it. Hi, Joaquin. Let's keep going.
next up, Raiders. Classic.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Amazing.
This is again
Brilliant.
the first Star Wars movie was not called Star Wars.
A New Hope.
A New Hope. It was called Star Wars. The first Indiana Jones movie was not called Indiana Jones. It was called Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And then
In
it
fact,
became a
Steven
franchise.
Spielberg calls all three movies Raiders because it was supposed to be like the movies were supposed to be called Raiders of the blank. Like every movie was,
Yes.
was supposed to be Raiders of something, but then the idea of Indiana Jones and how it rolls off the tongue, it's a nice name to talk about, that it was eventually called Indiana Jones and the blah 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 rather than Raiders of the blah. But Steven Spielberg even called Last Crusade Raiders 3 because that's what he envisioned the franchise to be. But
I get it, 20th Century Fox, like making the right decision from a marketing standpoint, because Indiana Jones is a way more memorable title, and but at the same time, I think in terms of rebooting the franchise now, you're really relying on Indiana Jones, whereas I think there would have been more opportunity, more of an opportunity to go in a different direction if it was just Raiders. Even though obviously Indiana Jones was the character of the franchise, Enterprise giving it a C tier. Marvel Cuphead saying, "And the Great Circle is a fun game." Yeah,
I've
it
heard it's
is.
great. I've heard Troy Baker does a very
So,
good job as Indiana Jones. So,
but
for
John,
me,
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
this isn't my favorite of the four because there's only four Indiana Jones movies. I don't know what you're talking. There's only four. What are you talking about? Just four. Four.
Wait, you mean that Disney did not make a fifth
No,
Indiana
there's just
Jones?
four. There's just
Okay,
four. Just like there's only three
okay.
Star Wars movies. What are you talking about?
That
Only
must have
three
been a
Star Wars
fever dream I
movies.
had once upon a
Crazy.
time.
There's
Okay,
more
cool.
Star Wars movies? Nah, there's only three. Like they killed the Empire. Like what else can you do? So Raiders of the Lost Ark is not my favorite of the three. I think it's a great film. I'd put it in A tier. However,
Oof.
I'm also like, if you want to put it in S, I'm gonna put it in S. Like, it's fine. It's like I'm not gonna. Again, when we're talking about Spielberg, I'm not. It's not like I'm there. There are few things I'm going to fight for, and Raiders. It's like okay, greatness. It'll go in either super great or great. Like whatever.
I can't put it in anything other than S tier because it's from the fact because to me again the movie itself is one thing, but we're talking about Steven Spielberg. These movies are part of the fabric of cinema at this point, and Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of those. And even in the illustrious career of Spielberg, we have all of his movies on the screen right now. You can probably take a dozen of them out of this list, which is probably one third of the total he's made, and say those movies are universally, seen, loved, people are aware of, that have defined entire genres unto themselves. Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of them. The iconic soundtrack, again, John Williams just killing it, and the collaboration with Steven Spielberg to going into new levels. I realize that a lot of fans, like in light of all the Indiana Jones movies, they don't look at it as such. But here's the thing: if we were doing a Star Wars movie ranking, yes, there will probably be people who put A New Hope in A tier and Return of the the Empire Strikes Back in S tier. But like it's the chicken and the egg situation. Would Empire Strikes Back
Oh,
exist
okay.
if
Oh,
A
okay.
New Hope
That's
did not
okay. You're
exist?
saying C for
So,
AI. Okay.
um,
Okay.
we'll get to AI later. But for Raiders of the Lost Ark, I gotta say it's S tier. It's gotta be S tier. It's just if that doesn't exist, then a better Indiana Jones movie doesn't exist. You know what I mean? And that's why I will put it in S tier. So
Yeah. So then we go that to the movie that killed the thing. So there's a little bit of ire for me because the thing is
killed
my
the
favorite movie
thing.
of all time. But does that mean E.T. is a bad movie? Absolutely not. Unlike my friend who actually actively hates this movie because it's many people blame it for
Thank you, David.
ruining the thing's potential at the box office back in 1982. I don't hate the movie. I love the movie. It was a childhood favorite. I love it. It's so good. It's again one of his most popular movies. I
Mhm.
prefer it to Close Encounters. I know it's like it's usually like I don't want to say it's like versus, but sometimes like there's a contingent of Spielberg fans that prefer Close Encounters. There's a contingent that prefers E.T. I prefer E.T. I
But they're
think
different movies.
they're
You know what I
very
mean?
different movies because it's
It's
like
like it's
well, E.T. was supposed
yeah,
to be a close was supposed to be a sequel to Close Encounters, but
right.
then it it became so much more and to me
Because
better. I
because
think Close
technically, if
Encounters
you,
is a great
it's
movie, but I
yes.
prefer E.T.
Well, I mean, I know what you mean because the Dr. J. Allen Hynek's UFO class, the classification system for alien contact, essentially ET could have easily been called Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, in essence, because and so I understand that was meant to be the sequel, but it just goes in a very different direction. I mean, it kind of launched the careers of actors like Drew Barrymore and such. It's still to this day the ultimate essential alien movie for the whole family to watch. I think the alien is a bit ugly. I prefer the Bollywood remake, Koi Mil Gaya, where they call the alien Jadoo. But we've done a video on the channel comparing the Bollywood versus Hollywood. There's a lot of like situations where you've had two movies that kind of look and are similar concepts. But that movie wouldn't exist if ET didn't exist either. So, and again, the imagery is so iconic. The soundtrack, maybe not the most iconic that Spielberg's ever of all of his movies, but um, it's to this day an inspiration for even like Ryan Gosling when he has been promoting Project Hail Mary. He talks about like how in the book for Project Hail Mary, the introduction of Rocky's character is like a big surprise later in the book. In the movie, they just was all over the marketing and everything, and Ryan Gosling was it's as if talking keeping Rocky a secret would be as if saying E.T. is a movie about a kid whose parents are getting divorced. Like you got to put the alien front and center. So again, it's part of our cultural lexicon. So I think for me, this is one of those S tier movies because it's not just even about the movie itself. The movie has gone beyond. We're going beyond the movie itself, and it's just the cultural relevance of it so much. Yeah. Uh, I mean, you have to be an iconic movie to be an S tier, and I feel like so far what we have got so far in the S tier: Jaws, E.T., Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I feel like those four belong in S tier. So yeah, definitely deserved. So let's keep
Yes.
going.
So now we go to a movie only I have seen. Well, not a full movie, but the
This
segment
one's a
of a
bit of a
movie.
technicality because it's he directed like only like a segment of it because the Twilight Zone the movie was like Twilight Zone the show in that it
It
was
was an
like a number of
anthology.
it was an anthology like a bunch of episodes in all together presented as a movie. So yeah, for
Yeah,
those who don't
so it
know.
was Joe Dante, George Miller, Steven Spielberg, and John Landis. Infamously John Landis, because pretty much the only thing people remember about this movie is during the John Landis segment is Vic Morrow and two kids were unfortunately killed during a stunt with a helicopter gone bad. So it kind of ruined the rest of the movie, and nobody's heart was really in it all that much. And because of that, now I have not seen the other segments. I have heard that the George Miller Nightmare at 30,000 Feet is very good, and Joe Dante's It's a Good Life, both remakes of episodes from the show,
Mm,
were
yep.
the best parts of the movie. Steven Spielberg just his heart wasn't in it anymore after that. Originally, he was supposed to do an adaptation, a remake of The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which is probably my favorite Twilight Zone episode of all time. And if Spielberg did that, that would have been a lot better because then instead he just did a remake of Kick the Can, which
Yeah.
is not a bad episode. It's a perfectly fine episode, but here
Yeah.
the message is kind of muffled, like the actors are outside of Scatman Carruthers are not very memorable. It's a perfectly serviceable little like segment of an anthology movie. It does like due to I'm pretty sure John Williams did the score. Due to that, like we get that classic feel and whimsy of a Spielberg movie, and it's just like I think what they're trying to go for here is like even if you're old, try to remain young and stay even though your body's old, stay young in your mind and you'll never feel old kind of thing. And it's a run of the mill kind of thing. It's not terrible, but his segment is, it's in terms of like the fucking run that he was going on in the late 70s and early 80s. This is kind of a weird blip similar to 1941, just a weird kind of blip that it's just like, oh yeah, this kind of happened. Let's kind of just forget about that. Um, it's decent, it's fine, but it's just not terribly memorable. Um, if I were to put it anywhere, um, I think it's fine. It's again, it has a bunch of good in it, but it feels like you could tell that Spielberg's heart wasn't in it anymore. Um, yeah, it's good. It's fine. It's perfectly okay. And because of that, I think I'm gonna put it right smack dab in the middle. I'm gonna put it in B tier. Because even with like it still has like Scatman Crothers is great. Um, you know, um, but yeah, I mean, it's still good. It's still pretty good. Like again, I can't judge the rest of the movie because I was like, you know what, the easiest thing to watch is just this one segment that Spielberg did, so I'll just watch that. But yeah, it's perfectly fine.
I mean,
Nothing
nobody's
great,
perfect,
but yeah.
and yeah.
Let me
By
zoom
the
in
way,
a
there's
little bit
entire
more.
episodes of Twilight Zone I'd love to see adapted into movies, and Spielberg would be like he'd be the perfect director to take them on. Probably a little too late for him to do that in his career now, but yeah, at least he was a part of the one effort that they did make years ago. So there you
And now we get to probably, well, at the time, the most controversial Indiana Jones movie, after, the series originally finished in
go.
1989.
Yeah.
Um, I don't hate Temple of Doom like a lot of other people do. I get the Kate Capshaw's character
Mm.
is not well liked by the fandom, and yeah, I know she's Steven
Hey,
Spielberg's wife, and
it's
she's kind of there, and she's screaming, but it's like,
but
but
like
then
it
you have
wasn't
Short
like
Round, you have Short Round in this
yeah.
movie, and he's fucking awesome.
I
Like,
mean, they met on the set of the movie and then they later got married. It's not like he gave her the job because she was his wife.
no,
By
I
the way, it's
know.
not
It's just
nepotism in
like
that sense.
she was banging the
Yeah.
director, and there was that. So,
Okay,
um,
but like the whole point I'm trying to say is it's not that
no, I
shouldn't be
know.
like a
No,
disqualifier. It's
I,
like
I, I get she's
okay,
kind of annoying, but like I still think this is a very good movie. I think it was kind of interesting
yeah.
how it went from, you know, kind of like, fighting Nazis about you, and then it goes like so far left with like Hinduism
Yeah.
like ideologies and culture. I thought that was really interesting. I
Well, they had
wish.
Russian set in it, and then one of the goats of Indian cinema, Amresh Puri, the late great Amresh Puri, who was Amresh Puri was he, by the way, one of several brothers who are great actors, but Amrish Puri, who passed away like now about 15 or so years ago, he was iconic for playing, villain characters in
Mhm.
Bollywood. He had this whole movie series called Mogambo, and that was the character he played, and it was this like really like over the top yeah, villainous characters. So for him to be in at the time in a Hollywood movie, and then the visuals, I mean, there's some groundbreaking visual effects in this, a lot of the practical stuff that you don't really see anymore, but still I enjoyed the movie. I still look back at it, and there's some elements that don't age well. This is definitely in a lot of ways a movie that feels like a relic of its time, but still it's an Indiana Jones movie, and I feel like today we long for those kind of adventure movies that the Indiana Jones movies were, because we just simply don't get as many
Yeah,
of them today.
because everything
So
feels like a marvelized action comedy
yeah,
nowadays. We rarely get like,
yeah. What
and
was
I
that
can
Tom
kind
Holland movie?
Uncharted.
Uncharted. That felt like they should have been trying to make it more of an Indiana Jones movie and less of a Marvel movie, and they ended up making it more like an
I mean, Uncharted
more like
is
a Marvel movie.
essentially like modern Indiana Jones.
It
I mean, the
is,
closest we have ever
yeah.
gotten to a great modern Indiana Jones, say it with me now, National Motherfucking Treasure, like those movies easily.
I totally, dude. I am 100% on board with you. What was his name? The the
Ben,
the the yeah,
well,
the
Nick
family name.
Cage,
What's the
but Ben,
well, obviously Nick Cage. Ben, somebody's gonna tell us in chat. I do agree that Temple of Doom is really really fun. National Treasure.
Ben Gates, Ben
Ben Gates,
Gates.
the Gates family. Yes, you got Riley
We
Poole
need
and you got
National
Abigail
Treasure 3.
Chase.
Fuck the TV series. Nobody gave
Yes,
a fuck about that.
bring
I
back
want
Sean
National
Bean.
Treasure 3.
And Harvey Keitel was in the first one. Remember, he played the CIA, FBI agent,
I
I think
think
it
he
was.
was in the
And
second one too.
was he? I forgot if
I
he was in the second
think
one. He
so.
might have been.
I know Sean
Um,
Bean,
but dude, Sean
like
Bean doesn't
Diane
die.
Kruger, the guy from
Yes,
Hangover, like
yes.
great fucking God. Those movies were so. I don't care what
I
anybody says. Book of
dude,
Secrets is also goated. Fuck
it
off.
is.
That
It
had Ed
is.
Harris in it. Like, come on
Yes,
now.
it did. Yes. Oh, and by the way, I crushed so hard on Diane Kruger.
I think we all did. I
So
think we all did. But
National Treasure. Sean Bean doesn't die in that movie, by the way. So we're one of the rare Sean Bean characters you can actually have return in a future installment.
yeah.
But anyway, Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. We went way off track.
So
Uh,
with this, I think I'd go with A because I don't think it's the weakest of the three original trilogy movies. I do think Raiders and Last Crusade by most people are better, but I don't think this is a bad movie. I'd put it in A tier. You know,
I
I
think
put
I would have argued for S tier, but I feel like I'm not as attached to it, so I think A tier is okay for me. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, the
Yeah,
next
Helen and
two
Troy.
are all you, buddy,
Yeah,
because I have not
yes,
seen either movie. So,
yeah.
Color Purple.
I'm sorry. I'm just like still now. I've got Diane Kruger on the mind. So yeah, Helen and Troy, National Treasure. I'll even take the Quentin Tarantino. What was the one? What am I talking about? The Inglorious Bastards.
Inglorious
Um,
Bastards. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, come on. How's Diane Kruger and not more things? But anyway, The Color Purple. Yes, this is the one that, of course, got remade later on. And well, how what was it? It was something. It was in this
It was a
century that
couple
they
of years
remade it.
ago. I forget when. I think
Uh,
it's 2023. Maybe I think Halle Bailey was in it.
yes. What? Yes, if she was. I mean, but this is like a bit of an ensemble cast, but also obviously, you know the you got Oprah Winfrey in it. Whoopi Goldberg is is the big one. You see a lot. Danny Glover, who I've met in real life. I was just telling Liz about that because she hasn't, and that's one of those like rare. I got like a story about a celebrity meetup that where otherwise usually she's the one who's meeting all the celebrities between us, and yeah. Lawrence Fishburne was in this movie. It's again, if you've seen the new one, it's very similar in the story. It takes place over the course of a few decades, and it's focused on and African American struggle essentially. I'm probably not going to be able to do it justice in terms of just talking about the plot, but I watched this in film school, and it's a movie that I feel like is one of those Spielberg movies that feels like an important movie that's worth watching, kind of like The Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan, where it's not just a movie that you're watching, you're watching a movie that is important because it's showcasing a part of the world that you don't always learn about. Or don't learn about enough in our school systems and whatnot. So yeah, the color purple is one of those movies. It's not the biggest, most successful, most iconic movie Spielberg has ever made, but yeah, it's an incredibly important film. Rotten Tomatoes score is I looked at it, it was in the 70s, but again, it's like Rotten Tomatoes wasn't around back then, so you're going back and digging up reviews, historical reviews, and trying to give it a score, using the current scoring system. If you want to watch it, it's currently available on Tubi, and you can see it for free. Like a bunch of some of these like lesser known Spielberg movies are available on Pluto, Tubi, and obviously they've remade it since. But yeah, the 1985 movie is the one that Spielberg directed. It's a period drama, and uh, I would probably say it's an A tier movie for me personally, even though I know a lot of people will probably put it in B tier. So oh, I mean, MTG says easy ARS, enterprising sing S tier. It is an emotional movie. It's a very emotional movie. It's the kind of movie that I personally would not have watched if it wasn't shown to me in film school. And that not that's not saying that I don't want to watch it. I don't think, like, being honest, I would have given it a fair shot, and I'm so glad that I was shown it at a relatively earlier age than where I am today, because my film journey has been enhanced because I was able to see this film when it came out. Yeah, yeah, the new one was more of a musical MTG. You're right, and the original one was more of a period piece drama. It's the tone of the two movies are fairly different, but yeah, I mean, it's Steven Spielberg doing human emotional drama. Like, that's one of those things that he's always
I
been good
mean,
at.
and speaking of
So
period piece
yeah.
human emotional drama, that's
Hmm.
his next movie with a very, very young Christian Bale, a very young John Malkovich, about a kid who is stuck in a POW camp
Yeah.
and kind of living there for the time being. So let us know what your thoughts are on Empire of the Sun.
Yeah, I mean, look, Christian Bale, obviously one of the greatest actors ever, and this movie puts that on display. Um, it also again is another time, not the first, not the second, and certainly not the last time Steven Spielberg went back to the World War II era to tell a story. It came out Christmas Day in 1987, and it went on to get nominated for many awards, including at the BAFTAs. uh, I love this film because it's one of the underrated Christian Bale movies, because most people don't realize obviously that he was in the movie. And like I think John, you and I were talking about when we were talking about this last week when we decided to do this as a topic for Tier List Tuesday, that while this doesn't quite have the emotional wallop and how it breaks you in terms of like the boy in striped pajamas and what that did to me. Um, it's just it's again one of those it's 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 based in the story is based in the in its characters. It's emotional, and it's the kind of movie that again it showcases like in when I was in film school they used to say that they used to tell you that when you're looking to do a new story, there's a few different ways you can go about it. You can come up with an original idea, or if you want to go and do some kind of like historical fiction, then what you can often the best stories you can tell are the kind of stories that they're true stories, or you base it on a true story, but the kind of thing that you wouldn't read in the history books because it wasn't big enough of an event to make it into history books, because it wasn't about a big battle, it wasn't about a turning of the tide, and it wasn't about like the story of an iconic ship or a battleship or whatever aircraft carrier. And while again, this isn't the best war movie that Steven Spielberg made, it is up there. Enterprise and giving it an A. I personally put it in A tier myself too. I know Stacy's putting it in S tier. I went to Quinnipiac University, by the way. So if you wanted to know, Stacy, yeah, I would put it in. I would put it in A tier. It's the kind of story that you wouldn't usually know about unless somebody took it and turned it into a movie. And yeah, it's a POW movie essentially, like you said, John.
Well,
By
we
the way,
keep with the historical
Joe
theme here.
Pantoliano was in that movie too. That was just another one to point that out. Yeah.
Going on with the historical movies, although this one
Mm-hmm.
is more rather than period piece drama, we're going
Mm-hmm.
back to more action adventure
Let's
with
do it.
the
Yeah.
for almost 20 years the last Indiana Jones movie,
Last
and
Crusade. Sean
it
Connery.
is
Yeah.
by far my favorite. It's not only my favorite Indiana
Yeah.
Jones movie, it is my favorite Steven Spielberg movie of all time. It is just I love it. I loved it watching. There was a point in my life where I just watched like I hadn't seen Temple of Doom, I hadn't even seen Raiders. I just watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This was like just for a while, like I just watched it nonstop. Like it was just just
By the way,
like
one of
the
yeah,
film franchise that was inspired by Bond. Get Bond as his father when you're doing that story. Absolutely brilliant, and just that's what makes the movie is the chemistry between Ford and
yeah.
Connery, even though Connery was only like 10 or 12 years older than Harrison Ford, but it was just perfect. And we also got young Indiana Jones River Phoenix, which was expanded
Mm-hmm.
upon in the show,
In the show, yeah.
but with Sean Patrick Flannery, um and just it's just a perfect movie. It's just a perfect, like I can't there's nothing wrong with it. S tier, perfect. I love it. I love it still to this day. It's still in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. It is the perfect action adventure film, and just that's it. That's it.
Wasn't this like one of two Spielberg movies that came out in 1989? Because
Yes, the
Always
next
was
one was
also
Always,
um obviously
but
one is
nobody
more iconic
really
than the other.
cares or remembers
Well,
that.
yeah, we won't spend too much time on it. By the way, For All Mankind, a documentary about the Apollo program came out that year on HBO, in 1989, which, of course, now we have a show called For All Mankind. And 1989, iconic year in the movies too. Twisters came out the same year. Blue Steel came out. Leviathan, Weekend at Bernie's came out the same year. The Batman, no, well, not The Batman, but Batman came out that year. Glory came out in
UHF.
1989. Yeah, it's just Major League came out the same year. Dead Poet Society came out. It's just a great year for the movies. I mean, and Cyborg, the Van Damme movie came out. Jean-Claude Van Damme came out that year as well. So I was just looking back at it. It's like there's a lot of great movies that came out in 1989. But as far as Spielberg goes, Last Crusade is, I think, for most people, the greatest Indiana Jones movie ever made.
Yep.
And I mean, by the way, Field of Dreams, also 1989. Holy shit.
Lethal
Uh,
Weapon 2.
The
Not
Abyss.
Lethal Weapon also, but Lethal Weapon
Yes.
Dose.
Yeah. Yeah, The Burbs, which they just turned into a TV show, came out that year too. The Abyss, the James Cameron movie, The Abyss. See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Yeah, it was quite the year,
Yeah. So
1989,
Last
guys.
Crusade,
Yeah,
brilliant, amazing,
brilliant. S tier. I
wonderful.
think this easily goes in S tier.
S tier. S
Yeah,
tier.
yep,
Now,
yep.
did you get a chance to watch Always or no?
I did not get to it, but again, John, can you walk us through the premise for this? Because the premise is all kinds of, sweet stuff for my taste in movies.
Yeah, it's essentially a romance film where it's like the ghost of a dead pilot is training a new pilot
Mm-hmm.
and the alive pilot, and the alive pilot starts falling in love with the dead pilot's girlfriend who he left behind. So
Yeah.
it's like kind of like trademark Spielberg schmaltzy,
Yeah.
wholesome,
Which
cute romance type of thing. Where my mom loves this movie. I'm gonna go off of what the ranking she gave me. She really loves this movie, but it's like her type of movie, romantic drama. She loves Richard Dreyfuss. She loves John Goodman. So this is definitely up her alley. This is definitely up your alley. You are a big fan of romance films and romantic comedies. So I feel like this would probably be one of your favorites. You probably should have just stopped. Once I said I was watching AI, you should have just stopped watching that and
well,
watched
I
Always.
clearly misunderstood it. I clearly misunderstood what you're saying.
No, the thing
This
is,
by the way, a
no,
remake.
no. I have a story as to why I ended up
Okay.
watching AI. Don't worry, it was not miscommunication. Don't worry, it's not your fault. I'm just, it's kind of funny how that turned out. It was just more like a happy coincidence, but
Yeah. Well, this was a remake of a 1943 film called A Guy Named Joe. And by the way,
censor it.
Sorry. Got it. My bad.
No offense, Georgia. We don't want to be demonetized. But
I was gonna say though, there's a
Yeah.
famous Bollywood movie with Salman Khan called Hello Brother, which follows pretty much the same story, except they're not pilots. It's like different. The occupations are different, but it's the same basic premise. And so yeah, again, I like the concept of this, and it's the perfect kind of movie that I would love to see. I wish I had seen it so I can give it a rating personally, but it's not the most well-known movie Spielberg ever made either. It's a bit of it's got fantasy elements to it because obviously, like,
it was definitely overshadowed by a lot of other films that year, in addition to Last Crusade. So yeah, I mean, going off of
Hepburn, Holly Hunter,
going off the premise and what my mom said about it, I'm gonna probably put it like middle of the road B tier. Like, it just doesn't seem like the pantheon of greatness. Stacy rated it a B, Enterprising rated it a B, so I think B seems accurate.
Fair.
Like it's
would be a better pilot. Probably me. Sorry.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I
love aviation, so I probably know more.
I mean, I don't mind planes, but I don't want to be a pilot. Fuck that shit. No.
I mean, my dad worked in aviation for the majority of his life, so I grew up like loving planes just because of that. So I've always loved aviation. So I certainly have more interest in it. I don't know practically if one would be better than the other, but anyway.
I mean, I'm not colorblind, so I have that going for me. But
yes. Well, neither of us have perfect 20/20 vision, although I don't know how much that is a requirement these days. So.
Yeah. But the next one, too bad Caleb isn't here because this is his favorite Spielberg movie, which is in fact Hook. I have not seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of it. The closest I have seen to Hook is the opposite of Hook, which is Peter and the Starcatcher. It was a play on Broadway. I think I actually saw it on off Broadway. And it was it was supposed to like going into like the lore of Peter Pan and like what happened after, and
so it's not the story of Peter Pan that you know of. It's the adult version of the character. That's of course who Robin Williams plays. Famously, again, Robin Williams loved to go off the cuff and improvise, and this movie has plenty of that. But also is one of those characters that I think if Robin Williams wasn't playing this character, it would have just felt very different because he put so much of himself into the movie. So a lot of what we know and remember about this film is because Robin Williams was in the role. But by hook or by crook, um, Dustin Hoffman doing a great job as Captain Hook. I always thought this was a B tier movie for me because it just doesn't connect with me in the same way as a lot of people, seem to love this movie
I've
as one of the
noticed that for
best things.
people who like
It's
saw it much later in life, they're
yeah,
like, yeah, it's kind of not. It's like one of those
like
movies.
Enterprising, for example, right? Like it's his childhood, right?
It's like
So
one of those movies you have to watch as a kid. Like you
when you're
have to
young,
like,
exactly.
it's like Lost Boys is another one with Kiefer
Nice,
Sutherland.
Stacey. Yeah.
That's like, oh, you have to watch it as a
Mm-hmm.
kid because then if you don't watch it,
Yeah.
then it's not going to connect with you the same way. Star Wars could be seen similarly. Um, but Hook is just one of those movies from friends of mine who have seen it. They're like, I watched it much later in life and it did nothing for me. I have not seen it, so I can't judge. So I'm just going off of what you're saying. So I will just put it in B
I know I'm
tier.
probably in the minority on that, especially even with people more who are similar in age to me. But I don't know. I just never. It didn't connect with me in the same way. Maybe it's just because I'm not a big fan of Hollywood musicals. There's very few that connect with me, and then also, like you said, I didn't watch this when I was a kid, so maybe I would have connected to it differently if I was. Um, yeah, I mean, it does kind of
I mean,
go closer to the original
I'm gonna
story of Peter
make,
Pan than most
in
other
honor
movies.
of
So yeah.
Disclosure Day, I'm probably gonna make my
Hmm.
way through Spielberg movies. I have so many other movies to watch because I have to watch stuff for my channel for my October horror binge. So there's that. I gotta catch up on Pixar movies before we do the ranking on my on our channel, the Cool Kids.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of movies I gotta watch in preparation for stuff. So yeah.
We'll probably just do like a Toy Story ranking again, just the Toy Story movies when Toy Story comes out. Yeah. Uh, well, MTG liked Hook, and he saw it as a kid. And
Well,
Enterprising
now
was in
we
the
go
theater. Yeah.
to the little bit of a brighter, well, the brighter quote unquote Spielberg movie of 1993, which isn't saying much because this is also darker and has horror elements. That is Jurassic Park. So
Right. S
yeah.
tier. S tier. No spirit spirit expense, right? It's literal and figurative. Oh, here she comes again. Sorry. There's a
I
cat
think it's overrated.
here.
I'm not a huge fan of Jurassic Park. It's good.
I don't know if you can
It's a
hear
good
me,
movie.
see me.
I don't think it's that great. It's good. It's a perfectly
I
good
can't
movie,
hear
but
you
again,
anymore.
similar to Hook, I just think I didn't see it at a young age. I didn't connect with it, and it's just one of those movies where it's like it's a good dinosaur movie. It's pretty good.
What did you do?
That's I mean, like I have no connection. I have no like, oh my god, fond memories of when I was a kid. I didn't see it in a big theater, a big packed theater. I I'd put it in B tier. Personally, I'd put it in B tier. If you want to meet in the middle of the road with A tier, I'm good with that. Or if you want to use your veto and use S tier, then you can do that too. Whatever you want to do. Personally, I'd put it in B tier. I think it's a good movie, of even maybe even a very good movie, but I just don't think it's that's I mean the inventiveness of the CGI at the time was brilliant, of course, mix of practical and CGI. Of course, the visuals are amazing, but that's kind of it for me. Dan, you're not talking. I don't know if he can hear me right now. He's probably once I said Jurassic Park is overrated, he probably just cut me out. Can you hear me right now?
Oh, I can hear you now. Okay, sorry. Now I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I couldn't hear you for like pretty much the last 5 minutes, so I was trying to figure out what happened. But anyway, I'm back. She's literally on the keyboard, and I was like, she pressed the button or something. But anyway, I was just gonna. I don't know what you said, so I'm just gonna.
So
Yeah.
I said Jurassic Park is a pretty good movie. I think it's kind of overrated. I'd probably put it in B tier It's good. It's a good movie. I just think it, again, similar to what your thoughts on Hook were, are my thoughts on Jurassic Park. I wasn't there when it was huge. I mean, I wasn't born yet. It was 93. Came out the vagina in 97. So just I didn't see it at a young age. I didn't connect with it. I wasn't there, in the packed theater. I think it's a pretty good, dinosaur movie. I think the visuals are amazing. The score is amazing, of course. John Williams, duh. But I just think it's good. It's a good movie. And I was saying this before. If you want to meet middle of the road in A tier, I'm okay with that. Or you can use your veto and say S tier if you love it that much.
I just it's how Superman said that you'll believe a man can fly. This movie made you believe that dinosaurs exist, and even though dinosaurs were extinct, I'm just taking a photo of my cat on my keyboard because this is priceless. But anyway, I think the cultural value of this movie. I mean, it spawned a franchise of good to mediocre films, but yeah, it made you believe in dinosaurs, and quite frankly, like what the Pirates movies did what Pirates of the Caribbean movies did for pirates as a concept in movies, this movie did for dinosaurs. And I just don't think there's any other franchise. It kind of spawned a genre. We've seen, obviously, they've made the attempts to do other movies, but none have quite lived up to this. This is one of those required viewing. If you love the movies, you better have seen Jurassic Park, at least the first one. They spared no expense. ILM again continuing to break new ground with the visual effects. Again, one of the most iconic soundtracks. So John Williams continues to be the GOAT, and collaborating with the GOAT director. I think it's personally it's S tier for me. Even though I think, well, you know what? I'm not even though. The story for this Jurassic Park holds up better than most other Jurassic Park movies. So I can't put it any lower than S tier for me personally.
So, what do you want to do?
Well, where did you put it in B tier?
I put it in B tier.
Okay. I mean, I put it. I feel like this needs. If I had one veto, I would use it on this one. But I don't know what other battles.
Okay. I'm pretty sure we can agree on everything else. Yeah. Although AI is going to be a discussion, but kitty butt.
Sorry.
You gotta censor that. You gotta put like a black square on her ass.
I don't think that's how that works.
Like, just like edit like the black censor bar and
hold on to your butts. Yeah, I tried to hold on to her, but well, she's back on the floor, so yeah. I mean, it's like, what's the famous line? He's like, you were so enthralled with what
your scientists were so preoccupied in whether or not you didn't stop to think if you should.
Yeah,
that's a great line.
It's timeless. But... yeah, exactly. Life finds a way, or the shirtless Goldblum. It's just
finds a way.
Finds a way. Faster, must go faster.
Honestly, like Jeff Goldblum is the best part of this movie, like without a doubt. Like it's Although going from fun action adventure film to incredibly depressing and cutthroat Nazi movie, I haven't seen this. I want to see it, but
all right. Okay, I'm not gonna judge.
No. Here's the thing. I want to see it, but one, it's very long, and two, you need to be mentally prepared to watch this movie, and I don't think in my everyday life I am mentally prepared to watch this movie. Like I've seen like so many. I've heard the music. I've seen so many like scenes and clips from it, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can like make it through this in one frame of mind. So that's why it's just like I want to watch it very much so, because it's a great, from what I've heard, it's a great movie. It's an important movie. Career defining performance from Liam Neeson. It's just, it's a lot. So I'm just like, I've got to be very careful when I'm in the right frame of mind for this, when I'm in the right mood for this, when I'm awake, where I'm not like, oh, I'm tired, I'm gonna fucking be on my phone. Like, like this movie deserves respect. I want to give it respect, but at the same time, I also like, I don't want to be a broken man totally by the end of it. So there's that as well. So it's
Well,
just,
you
it's a
can't,
lot.
yeah, but I would say like you can't. It's an essential viewing film,
Yeah,
like just
I
for
know. I
movies.
need to see it, and I
So
will see it eventually.
yeah,
Just it's a lot.
it is. It is a lot. I will say I first saw this when I was in high
You
school,
made
and
out during
maybe
Schindler's List. Yeah, great episode.
well, this did win Steven Spielberg his first two Oscars for Best Picture and Best Director, and just to let you know again the significance of this film. Now it's ranked eighth in a top 100 list, the 100 greatest American films of all time by the American Film Institute. It's ranked eighth on that. It's in the National Film Registry. It was added to the Library of Congress in '04. It is deemed one of the greatest movies of all time, aesthetically, historically, culturally. It won 7 Oscars, 7 BAFTAs, and 3 Golden Globes. And I first saw it in high school, and honestly, it didn't break me in the way that you were talking about it. And I think maybe I didn't appreciate the gravity of the story. And then when you go and when I went and rewatched it years later, it hits you differently, because then I think maybe I was too young to relate to some of what the movie's intentions and like the themes were, the kind of reading between the lines, and again the cultural significance of it, and knowing more about the Holocaust. But it is one of not only his best movies, but also one of his most important movies for Steven Spielberg, who of course is Jewish himself. So like this movie is a very personally connect. It's a very personal movie for him, and it was black and white, like you're saying, Chakrad, exactly. Well, not yeah, but it was black and white. I'm not gonna address the Jerry Seinfeld stuff. Uh, it has an emotional wallop, but it's I mean, yeah, Liam Neeson, like you said, career defining role. The emotional wallop comes not from a moment that it's the way I remember this movie is it doesn't give you the emotional wallop because of what's happening on screen in the strictest sense of like you're seeing the emotional wallop on screen and then therefore it's reflected in you. The story that's playing out on screen sometimes feels fairly cold in terms of like the nature of the subject that is tackling, and the cold nature of that is the emotional wallop that you suffer, or that you feel. And then also Liam Neeson, delivers one hell of a performance of just the emotional torment of what he's doing, the danger behind what his character is doing. Yeah, and around the same time, when I watched this movie for the first time in high school, I learned about the Anne Frank story, and just more about the Holocaust in general. This is one of those movies where if you have somebody who's, or like if you know someone, or not actually know someone, because I think most people know about the Holocaust, but if you have a young person who you want to you know uh, introduce the idea of what the Holocaust was without maybe all the actual horrific like recollections in a documentary format, you can watch Schindler's List, because as somebody who watched it in high school, washed over me, but didn't affect me as much as it did years later. But it is impactful in a different way than Saving Private Ryan, and it goes to show you again, going back to World War II for the third or fourth time in his career by this point, that Steven Spielberg still to this day very much considers that period of time to be very influential in the world as a whole, and therefore a lot of his most iconic stories come from that period of time, including Schindler's List. I think this is easily S tier. I don't think anybody would argue that.
Hmm.
It's one of his best movies. For a lot of people, it is his best film. Yeah. But we're glad you're here with us, Stacy, and we're glad to be a good part of your day. And with that, we move on to the second Jurassic Park movie based on the book The Lost World. John, it's the
Well,
rare
the book
sequel.
that Steven Spielberg begged Michael Crichton to make, even though it didn't make sense, and then didn't even follow the book that he wrote. So,
Yeah. And having said all that, I thought that, of all the Jurassic Park sequels we have seen, The Lost World feels like one of the better ones. Uh, Jurassic Park 3 was such a, step down. And then you get into, like, I think there were the TV movies and whatnot. Then you get the Jurassic World movies where it's very
what
spotty
TV
at
were
best.
there TV movies of Jurassic
I'm
Park?
pretty sure there was like a fourth one. If I remembering that wrong, I feel like there was
You
like a
probably remember that. I mean, there was
no.
a
I'm
TV series on Netflix, but like that was
Somebody will tell me in the chat. I feel like there was a Jurassic World TV movie, but I might be misremembering it. But anyway, uh, yeah. The Lost World, though, to me is a good sequel. It's not as good as the original, but it's a good sequel. It kind of retreads a lot of stuff, and obviously, in all the ways that a sequel tries to expand that world, it does so. It's not, in hindsight, particularly groundbreaking, uh, but yeah, it's a good movie. I would probably put it in B tier. Um, yeah, I don't know, John. What do you think?
I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna say B tier.
I'm thinking of a, by the way, I'm thinking of a fan made project, Jurassic Park Prime Survival. That's not even an official Jurassic Park movie. Never mind. Um, so
All right. Next up,
yeah,
Amistad, the movie that everyone kind of forgets about, but it exists. So, yeah, neither of us have
yeah,
seen it. Maybe you guys have seen it. Um, just nobody fucking. I didn't even like fucking. What a weird cat! Like Matthew McConaughey. What the fuck? Matthew McConaughey was in a Spielberg movie. Okay, okay
all right,
then.
all right, all right. Yeah, it's just
Um, I don't know much about Amistad or like.
well, I mean, it's another one of those like historical dramas which Steven Spielberg did a lot of, and I feel like he tried to get away from that in the last couple of decades very consciously. Jaimin Hansu was in this movie, a
Mhm.
underrated actor who again somehow still doesn't get to lead his own movies, having been in some of the most important movies that Hollywood has ever put out. It's based on, of course, it's the name of a slave ship, a transportation ship going between Cuba and America, in the year 1939 specifically in this movie, but in general that was this part of the slave trade route, and you get to again experience a story that feels more important than just your average movie. And you have Morgan Freeman in there, who's playing a freed slave. You get to see Jamin Hansu's character, Chink. I think I call it Chink. It might be Sink, but he leads the slaves in the uprising on the boat. So yeah, it's like you said, Matthew McConaughey. You wouldn't remember him doing a Steven Spielberg movie, but like, sorry, Anthony Hopkins is in this film as well. He plays John Quincy Adams, and it's a movie that not the most well known Spielberg film, but it's again one of those movies that it does a pretty good job of recounting the events from that it's based on. And there was a Supreme Court case, obviously, that I think around it that's featured in there. So it does dramatize some events, but it's a pretty accurate recollection. uh, so I know M2G. I'm sorry. I was thinking of a fan Jurassic Park movie that wasn't official. This is an underrated movie from Spielberg. Amistad. To some people, Amistad is one of his best works. I personally am not one of those people, because I haven't seen the whole thing. But it is a very underrated movie. And it is based on a sad true story. You're right, Enterprising. Loosely based. It does a fairly good job of sticking to the facts, but it is more loosely based than an accurate step by step recollection of events. Um, but yeah, John, this one, based on my knowledge of the movie, I would put it in A tier because again, it's the importance of the film. There's so many of these that Steven Spielberg has made where these movies aren't just good movies or great movies, they're important movies, which is a different quality unto itself. And Amistad is one of those that Spielberg has done over the years. So
Yeah, and then in terms of historical dramas, once again, we get the same Ryan
Yeah.
Esther.
By the way, a
Esther
fun
one.
fact, President Martin Van Buren was featured in Amistad, a name that you don't really often think about. And the
Yep.
court case featured in the movie, it was taken from local Connecticut courts all the way to the Supreme Court. So, and ultimately, the slaves were freed. So, yeah, good Connecticut reference there for us. Put
Yeah.
John in there.
Also Esther.
Yeah.
Esther. Do
Saving
we even need
Private
to talk
Ryan
about
is
Esther?
sorry, I'm
Esther.
sorry. I'm just gonna have to say this. Saving Private Ryan is simply the greatest World War II or the greatest war movie, period
I
ever
would
made.
say it's
Period
top
of all
5
time.
easily.
Period.
And Harvey
It to
Weinstein
me.
can fucking suck my nuts because fuck Shakespeare in Love. Fuck that fucking historical comedy
It is
fucking period piece
Saving
hunk of
Private
junk.
Ryan is the best war movie ever made. The first 15 minutes of this movie are the most harrowing, most not maybe necessarily the most accurate, but the most harrowing, probably the most one of the most accurate recollections of what D-Day was and what went into it. And obviously, it doesn't cover every aspect of D-Day, but then the human sacrifice and I mean, God, you got Tom Hanks. Obviously, you had Matt Damon in there, but you got Dom Toretto Diesel in this movie, and the whole cast is stacked. This
You
movie
have Guy
to this
Gardner in
day,
there in a little bit
yeah,
part.
Nathan
Um,
Fillion. Um, I think Saving Private Ryan is one of those movies that, again, not only is it one of the greatest, most masterful movies ever made, both for its scale and scope and human emotional storytelling, but also is one of the most important movies ever made because it the ultimate impact of this movie that it's meant to give you is that war is brutal, war is ugly, war is terrible, and it comes at a great human cost. And there's a
mhm.
scene in this movie, if you guys have seen it, where there's like a German soldier fighting an American soldier hand to hand, and they get to a point where they're like, one of us is gonna have to die walking away from this. And the way Spielberg showcases the whole, well, the way that scene is choreographed, it's just like, it's naked violence is the best way I can describe it.
Yep.
Where you watch that scene and you see the ugliness of war in a very intimate setting where one guy is simply using brute force to drive a knife through the other guy's heart. And you see that play out from the perspective of another soldier who's terrified because, he's like, what the fuck am I doing out here? Uh, and to me, like that, all the way to Matt Damon's character getting old and he's like, tell me I'm a good man. Because, those guys, like, because he's like, did I earn the life that those guys sacrificed theirs to give me? Chills right now, goosebumps talking about it. This is single, like, to anybody who shits on this movie, I will go to war with you to prove to you that this is one of the best war movies, one of the best.
Yeah.
To me, this is Steven Spielberg's best movie of all time. This is the best movie he's ever made. I could not speak any more highly of it. Fun story. When I first saw this, I was like, oh my god, the first 10 minutes of this movie are the most gory, bloody, brutal, you know of any movie I've ever seen. And I specifically told my at the time less than 10 years old brother to not watch it, but I had a high seas version of the film, and my brother knew my password, and so he went and watched it, and he was like traumatized from the first opening sequence of the movie. And I was like, I told you not to watch it. And he's like, but I was too curious. And I'm like, well, now like it was like a very like, and I was kind of mad at him, but at
I
the
mean,
same
it's
time I was
definitely
mad
a
at him. It's
very
just, yeah,
hard movie to watch. It's
yeah,
brutal, it's visceral,
it's,
it's
yes,
disgusting.
yes,
It's just it's not supposed to be a fun movie. Shakespeare in
right,
Love is a fun movie. So I guess like, it's it's Shakespeare, Hollywood loves Shakespeare. And also Harvey Weinstein like having like a smear campaign against this movie caused Shakespeare in Love to win. That was essentially, it's just 15 minutes of the opening and the rest of the movie sucks. And it's just like, all right, Harvey
go
Weinstein,
fuck
you've
off,
also like raped women, so fuck yourself.
fuck off,
But
get out of here.
Saving Private, like this was,
Yeah.
I think it was between, I think it was like, because I remember like there were like old school. I don't remember. I think my mom was like watching like the news or something, and they had this like segment of like if you could go back in time and
Mm-hmm.
redo like what
The Oscars.
because they were talking to Academy members at the time, and you could redo like what the winner should be. Like pretty much the vast majority agreed on 2 years. 1994, Shawshank should have won. 1998, Saving Private Ryan should have won.
Yep. And you know what? It did win 5 Oscars, even despite not winning Best Picture. It won 5 other Oscars. So it's I mean, you know, it's to me, like the way else, this is, if there was no other way for me to tell you how great this movie is, much like I hold every other superhero movie to the standard that The Dark Knight has set and it still holds, every more war movie I think about, but is it as good as Saving Private Ryan? And I realize, you know, that comparison is the enemy of happiness or whatever, but this is just the greatest war movie. Like, just, you know, from a technical storytelling perspective, visually, it is an absolute, you know, emotional wall up. All the boxes get checked, and yeah, this is an S tier movie. If there was an SS tier, I would put it in there.
Well, SS. It's Nazis,
and Schindler's List alongside it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all up there. So.
It works. It works. Put Raiders, Indiana Jones, Schindler's List, and Saving Private Ryan in SS tier because Nazis are the bad guys. Get it?
Yep.
Funny.
In 2025, Vulture listed Saving Private Ryan as amongst the best movies to have not won the Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Pretty much.
And agreed completely. Yeah.
Let me just catch up on.
I mean, this was, by the way, Saving Private Ryan has a huge influence because I feel like the Band of Brothers.
Well, I mean, Band of Brothers, Masters of the Air, and
Medal of Honor was influenced by it.
Yeah. Literally, it's like, this is why I'm so pissed that like fucking Activision and Paramount said no to Steven Spielberg. Like, one, he literally created the movie that inspired, you know, Medal of Honor and Call of Duty, and they're like, no. And it's like, you're literally Steven Spielberg, who's a huge fan of the franchise, by the way, on your doorstep begging to make this movie, and they're like, nah, fam, let's get the guy who did the fucking Boston Marathon movie. Like, what? Are you high? Are you fucking stupid? Like, what? You say no to Spielberg. Honestly, David Ellison deserves to die for that one. Just kidding. I have to. My lawyers are telling me I have to say that that's a joke. But fuck you, David Ellison. Fuck you. You have robbed us of a Call of Duty movie directed by Steven Spielberg. Frankly, fuck yourself with a cactus strap on. Go fuck yourself. Just saying.
Well, I mean, Spielberg also is busy. Steven Spielberg is doing a bunch of other stuff. I will say, Saving Private Ryan, like I said, it won 5 Oscars. It did get Steven Spielberg his second Best Director Oscar. It also won Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Sound, as well as Best Sound Effects Editing. And while Tom Hanks was nominated for Best Actor, and the movie was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, Best Music, Best Production Design, and Best Makeup, it did not win in any of those categories. And like you said, it somehow lost to Shakespeare in Love for Best Picture, which is still considered one of the greatest upsets in the history of the Oscars.
That and like Crash beating Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah. I mean, it was also I mean, Miramax and DreamWorks, you know, epic war and fight. I mean, Miramax, by the way, doesn't really exist in the way that it was back then.
No,
Disney kind of
it doesn't.
Bought it and then sold it off, and you know, DreamWorks
and like 3 different companies like bought it, then sold, bought it, sold. Yeah,
exactly. So Saving Private Ryan. I mean, I feel like we still have a lot to get through, but we've already talked about some of the greatest movies ever made. So it's okay. Stacey. I'm not gonna war you, whatever that means.
Well, you said I'm gonna go to war to anyone who doesn't like.
Okay. I'm not gonna go to war with you, Stacey. I was being a little hyperbolic, but anyway.
That's all.
Are we only halfway through this? Holy fucking shit! Let's.
Well, a little bit more than halfway through. This is gonna be the 20th movie, and so the reason. I mentioned this. I mentioned this. So originally, this is actually a really funny story. So originally, we agreed upon that you were gonna watch Always and Amistad, and then I was gonna watch a segment of the Twilight Zone movie, and then the BFG. So
I did mention I was gonna watch AI potentially.
So I didn't even plan to watch AI. I'm like, I don't want to watch this. So I'm trying to avoid riding the high seas right now because Windows sucks and doesn't know how to not get hacked apparently. So and Windows Defender has been wonky.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of avoiding that right now until I get a good antivirus to help me out there.
Yeah.
Like a backup one.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm trying to avoid that, and I don't have Disney Plus, so I'm like let me look up some reviews for BFG, and apparently I thought it was one of those like underground hits where it's like, oh, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people liked it and it just didn't do well at the box office. Um and so I was like, okay, then I won't watch it then. So I was looking at
Mm-hmm.
all the movies that were free that I hadn't seen. AI was the only one that was free. I'm like, I gotta fucking watch AI. Damn, that sucks because my whole life I heard that AI sucked, was terrible, was one of Spielberg's worst movies. So I'm like, okay, I'll like look up some, I'll look up some stuff on the
What
movie.
Enterprise just said is exactly it. This is Kubrick's attempt at a Spielberg film and Spielberg's attempt at a Kubrick film.
Um,
It's just,
so
yeah.
so what was so funny about it? I'm like, oh, let me look up some stuff, and apparently this movie's beloved. This is considered one of Spielberg's best movies, apparently. I
No,
looked up
it's
on Letterboxd. It has one of the
yay.
highest scores of
I'm
any of his
sorry.
movies, and it has
It's
this on I swear to God, I'm not making this up. I am looking at it right now on Wikipedia. In a 2016 BBC poll of 177 critics around the world, AI, artificial intelligence, was voted the 83rd greatest film since 2000. It has since been called one of Spielberg's best works and one of the greatest films of the 21st century and of all time. I was gobsmacked that this movie, I'm like, what? And so I asked my friends, they're like, this movie's beloved. Yeah, it's got a huge cult following. It's huge. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, now I'm curious. Now I have to watch this movie, and it's available for free. So I sat down, I watched the movie. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was that bad. Like, it's
This
probably one of
movie is
his
a
weakest
fucking
movies that I've
fever
seen.
dream. It's
However, I'm just gonna let my,
uh
have my review and then you can do your rant. It's fine. But to me, again, it's essentially a modern interpretation of Pinocchio. That is essentially this movie. It is just Pinocchio, but with
it
robots.
is, but the movie literally spouses that in dialogue 50 fucking
That
thousand
exactly.
times.
Here's the thing.
It's
As a
like
very
God.
simplistic story, I think it was fine. I enjoyed myself. I wasn't bored when I was watching it. It's a very technically well-made movie. Like the cinematography, the effects, and
I'm
the
sorry,
acting
I
and
get
everything.
it. I kind of got
Lighting.
tired of the bloomy, like dreamy
All right, you
cinematography
like Man of
lens
Steel. Get the fuck
filter.
out of here. Like, don't
No,
even give me like
no,
what
but it
blue
just was
shit.
so over
Like,
the
get out of
top.
here.
No,
No.
not Bloom. No, Man of Steel did not do that. That's different kind. That's lens
Also,
flare shit.
Minority Report did the
It's
exact same thing, and you love that movie. So don't get me
but
on. Don't get
this
on with
was
that
so
shit.
much worse because it feels like such a like 2001 A Space Odyssey still feels relevant today because a lot of those like concepts still feel like realistic. Most of the way this movie treats AI and the concept and potential for AI feels
It's
so
very dated.
antiquated. It's so
But
antiquated. Like
it's so funny because
yeah.
it's just like it's one of those, it's just a very fucking strange movie. And the thing is, I watch it, I was never really bored. I enjoyed myself when I was watching it, and I think it does bring up some interesting philosophical ideas about
It
love and
does.
death, and but
Yeah.
it's just, however, can you fucking let me talk? God damn.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So the thing, because the thing is, I agree with many of your statements. That's the thing. I agree with
Yes.
you, but I just found myself enjoying it a little bit more. So with that, it just like it comes off as very hollow and very empty because there's, as you said, there is so much telling in this movie. Oh my God, so
Yes.
much telling. Tell, tell,
Yep.
tell, tell. It doesn't show. It never shows. It's always telling you stuff. Very poor script. Very
Hmm.
poor script. So with that, it's visually stunning. It's very well acted.
I
But the
disagree with
problem
that.
is, and the plot's okay. It's just the story just feels empty. Like it's like,
It's
however, the reason I would maybe bump it to like B or C tier, maybe like in between. Like if there was like a B minus tier, I'd probably put it there, or a C plus tier. Is I do think the ending is very well executed because that was
It's
very
poetic.
emotionally resonant.
I,
I think it
I would
was a
check that on
very
that point.
like that's the thing that gets my head turning, that the things I think about is that very emotionally resonant ending, and I feel like people who have lost their moms watch that and are very, very connected to that. And I think it's a very good emotional ending, very good bittersweet ending. Kubrick wanted to do that ending. Spielberg didn't want to do it, but he wanted to honor his friends, so he did it. So
Kubrick's
for
Spielberg
me,
movie.
it's
Yeah,
one of
amazing.
those, it's just so weird, but it like intrigues me and I'm still thinking about it. I literally just
It
finished the
makes
movie
you
earlier
think.
today.
It definitely makes you think. I would like. I don't know. Like I. Sorry, I'm just going. I need
So
to
for
finish it.
me, like I think it's
Yeah.
an enjoyable experience, but the problem is a lot of the themes are not very well executed. It feels kind of hollow. It feels like a very weird movie. I'd probably put it in C tier compared to the rest of everything. I think, oh,
Oh,
there she goes.
ow.
I think I don't think it's the worst thing since Cancer, like some people have said, but I don't think it's like underrated or secretly amazing or one of the like seriously, a friend of mine rated this a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
I
I
mean,
don't think
he's
it's that good.
clearly smoking something
I
when he
I
did
think
that.
this is a decent
I don't know
effort,
why man
and
still
it was a
catches
good
strays.
way to tribute Spielberg's friend and a good director. However, it just doesn't stick the landing, even though ironically the landing is probably my favorite part of this movie. And I do think Haley Joel is a very good actor. So yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Thank you,
it
Hunter.
does make
That
you.
perfectly
It's not.
antiquates what I'm trying to say. It's a beautiful failure, but not the worst film he's ever done. So that to
Maybe I
me,
haven't. Maybe I need to see a few more of his really bad movies to
yeah.
know. Uh, really, Georgie? Now? I,
So for me, I'd probably put it in C tier. I don't think it's as bad as D tier. Like D tier is I would say, well, F tier is technically the worst, but we've never really done a tier list outside of like shit and blunder when we did the phase 4 tier list. I don't think anything is like that bad. So for me, like it's fine, but I think the ending is really good. Some ideas, good acting, very well visually, but it doesn't stick the landing.
yeah, I'm Georgie. Come here. Stop. This is not the right time to be doing this. I'm trying to destroy Spielberg's movie. Anyway, okay. Um,
Anyway, I'm done. You can
no,
rant, you can
okay.
rave, you can whatever you want to do.
Look, I'm just gonna give you guys a. This is not me making anything up or exaggerating. This movie starts off with very. It starts off with this very highfalutin. People don't talk like this at all, which by the way is a theme throughout the whole movie. Like the way people talk in this movie is very much not how people talk. And it's I guess they play it off because it's the future, so like people talk differently, which I'm like, okay, fine. But this movie starts off with a scene that is literally all about, like you said, the telling of the philosophy of the idea that what they take 5 minutes to bounce around, and William Hurt does his best to make do with what he's given, but essentially it talks about, oh, what if he made an AI? I'm not doing any of this, by the way, John. This is not me. This is the
No,
cat.
you're good.
Um, and it starts off with a whole scene where they're talking about, what if we created a robot that can love a human? Would that mean that then the human, essentially needs to love, like, like, does that mean that piece of it, that AI or android now has the same level of importance as a human does? And from there, you take a hard, it's not a hard left turn, but you take a turn and you get to the whole story of, oh, this couple whose kid died, so therefore,
Well, he
you
didn't
know
die, he was sick.
well, he was sick, and then they get this like android that's meant to be a replacement. Now at that moment, I'm thinking, okay, so they got a kid who literally looks like, they got an android who looks like their actual kid. Come to find out, their actual kid looks nothing like the android. So I don't know why the hell this woman was so infatuated with this kid to the point, because I was like, I thought the whole idea was this woman is like, oh my god, it's my son brought back to life. Not only does he not look like the same guy, he looks like a different. He's got a different name, different personality. Not to mention, every character is over the top person, like hyperly, like hyper, exaggerated, stereotypical personality. The husband is the one who brought the kid home, and the husband almost immediately turns against the kid, doesn't even consider it a kid, even though he brought him home because he was like, oh, my wife's gonna be happier because we're gonna have our boy back. But he's the one who hates the kid, not to mention the actual kid is a piece of shit. I mean, it really does help that he's
Yeah,
played
he's the
by
dipshit brother from
Lizzie
McGuire.
McGuire's brother, so I'm like, they got the right guy for the job. But like, and then the movie takes a, like, what is it, like a half hour into the movie, it takes a total fucking right turn after all the exaggerated things. Not to mention, there's a fucking, what do they call it, a super toy talking bear in this movie. I was like, what in the blue fuck am I watching half an hour in? And then when I thought, like, every possible exaggerated way of like taking a turn in the movie would happen, where, okay, of course we're gonna get to the point where, overacting. I forgot the name of the actress who played. I thought it was Sally Fields. It's not Sally Fields. It's just this
Frances
whole movie.
O'Connor
Frances
is the
O'Connor.
mom.
Like, this movie's so disjointed. She's like, oh, I have to drop you off at the. Oh, we're going out on a ride. And you would think, oh, she's going to like return the boy so he can get destroyed by the company that made him because he's imprinted on her. Again, very antiquated idea of what AI Android would look like. It's just, it goes to show you how much the world has moved on from those preconceptions of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's really funny. I will say that is definitely funny.
But even in that moment, it's kind of like, John, remember how we were talking about in Avatar? They were doing the whole biblical, like, what's the story of Abraham goes to sacrifice one of his sons moment?
Yeah.
That the story, but they couldn't even get it right. It's like you're watching the mom, to this android kid, be like, I'm gonna, we're gonna go for a ride, but I'm actually going to drop you off at this company. But then she takes a fucking left turn into the forest right next to the company, leaves him there, and then from there he walks into like whatever situation he ends up in with the other androids. Then we randomly get introduced to a young gigolo version of Jude Law, which I'm sure a lot of women enjoyed, but like it's. And then randomly the dude is like in trouble because he's been framed. By the way, we don't even. It's like they set up the whole idea that he's framed for murder just so they can have an exit strategy for him later on in the movie. I was like, what the blue fuck? Again, I'm watching. Then there's a whole Wizard of Oz moment when they go talk to this like robot, where apparently the company that made him has always been keeping an eye on him, and that's the only time they interfere to like lead him back to the city that's buried in water at the end of the world called Manhattan. What the, like, again, it's just, it's the first time I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey, I had a what the fuck reaction because that movie felt disjointed, and that's what I feel like about this, except it's actually worse. And the 2001: A Space Odyssey is actually a good movie, even though it trips on balls after halfway through the film. This movie trips on balls, takes 20,000 hard right, hard left turns, and then by the end of the movie, it feels like a SpongeBob episode where the wind stones that SpongeBob builds. Then in the distant future, the aliens come and visit the stones, and there's this ancient like wind instruments that SpongeBob built that become the Stonehenge of the undersea that the aliens visit in the future. This is that movie where at the end, our main kid somehow like gets frozen in water underwater chasing the myth of a blue fairy to make him a real boy, only to be found by futuristic aliens who come up with
Actually, they're not aliens. They're the robots that have evolved.
They're the robots that evolved. They look like aliens, whatever the fuck. I don't really care. But like the point is, they're like they come up with this like some kind of like fictional rule out of nowhere that apparently we found out, again, telling not showing, that there's like our souls, literally in essence our souls are our thing that are built into space-time itself, the fabric of space-time. So therefore, if you do bring your mom back arbitrarily for no other reason than to be like, we were just talking about Jurassic Park, by the way. You take DNA from a dead species, and like, which was the humans in this future, and you bring them back to life. They can only live for one day for whatever the fuck reason that they randomly invented, and then all to like satisfy a weird poetic. Like, I get the moments, like in vignettes, this movie is beautiful, and I understand why some people would like it, but it's at best a terrible nightmare, and at worst a fever dream, and I have no idea what the hell they were doing with this movie, because like the movie is not even the same movie. Like, there's like three different movies in one, and it makes no sense whatsoever. This is the worst Steven Spielberg movie ever made, and um, I just can't, like, it's not a beautiful disaster. It's a fucking disaster. So artificial intelligence, if there was an F tier on this list, I would put it in F tier because it certainly deserves to be down there. Uh, that's it. I can't say anymore. I feel like I've
Okay.
said my piece.
So, since technically I would put it in C tier, and you would put it in F tier if there was an F tier, technically the middle road is D tier. So
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't think
This
it
was like,
deserves D tier. I don't think it's
I
that
feel like
bad, but
yeah, this movie led me to believe, like, oh yeah, Steven Spielberg is human after all. Like, it's like and it's like a reflection of what he thought AI was at the time. Because clearly with Minority Report, it has a lot of those fantastical elements, like the precogs and stuff.
which is next, ironically.
But like, which came out the year after this came out, and nobody remembers artificial intelligence. A lot of people.
I mean, a lot of people
remember.
honestly, I
So-
would say the opposite. I say more people remember artificial intelligence than Minority Report. I never hear anybody talk about Minority Report. Not saying that that's a good thing. I think Minority Report is a great movie and much better than AI, artificial intelligence.
That's been
But
not been my
AI, I would say, is
experience.
definitely more talked about than this is. And this, Stacy,
Not
by
my
the way,
experience, but-
since you were mentioning what's your favorite underrated Spielberg movie, Minority Report. I would say 100% Minority Report. It is arguably one of his best movies, but never talked about. I would say the TV show that was made fucking 20 years later is more remembered than Minority Report, and it's crazy to me. I would say, like, the ending I get, because the ending, it doesn't stick the landing for me, but like outside of that, it's a great movie. It's great.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like I agree with you on that, which is why I think for me, it's not quite S tier. Also because there's aesthetically a lot of the stuff in this movie doesn't quite hold up. Also,
Yeah.
I'm kind of over the whole blue.
so like the
soft
overly
focus
bright, like
cinematography.
weird
Yes.
future. It
Yes.
doesn't look right, but
It's
I would say this is A
yes.
tier. I would say
which
A
is what we
tier.
saw in AI as well. Yeah, A tier I think is a fair, because again, thematically this movie is still very relevant and much more relevant than AI is. Speaking of, yeah. Anyway, due to cultural importance or lack thereof, I mean, Minority Report is one of those underrated movies Spielberg made. Also, one of his two collaborations with Tom Cruise. So
Yep.
yeah. All right, moving on to the next one.
And that is Catch Me If You Can, which I
Catch
would
Me If You-
say,
Ooh,
I wouldn't say it's underrated, but I would say it's not as
It's not very
well
talked
rated as some of his other
Yeah.
movies, and I think it's very good. And I will say
It's
it's
so
even funnier
enjoyable.
nowadays because it's pretty much well known that Frank Abagnale Jr. pretty much made up all of this. None of this is true, and it's like, hey, you believed a con man. Crazy. And it turns out none of his life about conning people was true because he's a con man. So, I feel like that's kind of funny, but it's still a good movie. Like, Tom Hanks is great. Although I will say his comic books, it's comics books, he's very out. Like, I will say his accent really gets grating after a while.
Yes.
But he's still
You're talking
good.
about
It's Tom
Leo,
Hanks.
yeah.
Leo, great as always. Christopher Walken also in it,
yeah.
also very good despite his
Yeah.
small role. But yeah, very good movie. I wouldn't say it's like amazing or anything, but I would say
Mhm.
A or B tier depending on what you want to do.
It's just this is probably okay. Steven Spielberg has made a lot of important movies. He's made some of the greatest movies of all time. Catch Me If You Can is one of the most, if not the most, enjoyable movie. Where like you watch the movie, it has
It's
moments
fun.
where it kind of takes you down, but it's just a fun film. It's the closest thing he made to something like Ocean's 11 in terms of like this. Like,
I mean,
cat and mouse
kind of
chase.
deserved it after dealing with
So,
heavy themes of
yes.
like technology fucking the
Mhm.
future, like with AI and Minority
Yeah.
Report. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's also like it's got like an uplifting ending, right? Like however true or false the story might be, it just you leave the theater smiling. I watched this recently too, and it's to me it's just a genuinely fun film. It's like I mean, even the Terminal has some like emotional wallop moments. To Catch Me If You Can never quite goes that deep, and you just have a fun time at the movies, and it's very well executed. It's a very well made film. The cinematography is good for what it is, and it's a period piece again. Uh, Catch Me If You Can is just a fun time at the movies. Tom Hanks, Leonardo DiCaprio. Um, it's fun.
where would you put it though?
I think it's A tier for me.
Okay,
I think it's A
I'll
tier.
put it in A
I
tier.
wouldn't have put it in A tier 5 years ago, but I just have a greater appreciation for it today than I did back in a while, years ago. Um, Yeah. I mean, especially considering the kind of movies we have out today, I feel like we need more movies like Catch Me If You Can. You know what I mean? Like just a good time at the movies, you go and you have fun, and this is a fun movie. Exactly like what MTG is saying. Like you're not there for like heavy subject matter, you're not there for like a comedy. You're just there to be entertained. It's a very Spielbergian movie. Not to mention, it's not the kind like E.T. still feels like very much a movie made in the 80s. This movie feels like it was made with today's sensibilities in filmmaking. So from a technical standpoint, from a storytelling perspective, pacing, it feels relevant to today, even though it's now like almost 20 years old in and of itself. So yeah.
Well, for the next three movies, it's all on your own because Terminal is the next one. The next movie, his collaboration with Tom Hanks, with him also doing a funny and kind of annoying accent throughout
I
most
don't
of the
think it was
movie.
it's I did not think it was an annoying accent. The Terminal is personally my favorite Spielberg movie ever made. It's also my favorite Tom Hanks movie ever.
Is
Right
it
up
your
there
favorite
with
Catherine Zeta-Jones
Forrest Gump.
movie?
All Catherine Zeta-Jones movies are my favorite. Let's just be
What
honest.
about
The Mask of
isn't
Zorro
Diego
is
Luna in this? This was like one of his first like major Hollywood movies, right? Wasn't
I
it
think
Diego
so.
Luna?
Yes, it was. Yes.
And then
Uh,
Stanley
it,
Tucci, great cast.
Stanley Tucci is so fucking hilarious and like the
He's
perfect little
such.
prick you can
I
hate.
have seen
It's
clips of
just
this. I've seen
it's
bits and
so
pieces, and
funny.
he's such a fucking
Uh
prick.
It's
Like,
exact. That's what I just said. But you enjoy the after the fact, right? I also like growing up. Every summer we would fly to JFK Airport because I lived abroad, and so I would visit my uncles in the U.S. And so every summer would be like. So I was very familiar with the like the you put in a coin, you get the card, you put it back, you get the coin back. There's a Burger King there, and I obviously I'm a big aviation nerd, like I mentioned before, and this is based on a true story of this actually happened to somebody back in the 80s or something. And the timeline in the movie is kind of condensed in terms of how long the person spent in the airport. It's not the
yeah, I think he
only
spent
story of
like
the kind
12 years
either,
in the airport or some
but
ridiculous
like
number
it's
or
just a
something like that.
fun movie, and yeah, and then you have randomly Catherine Zeta-Jones in this movie for like a bunch of scenes, and it's just, but it's like a moment in life, kind of like it doesn't, and he goes on the main character Victor Navorsky goes on a date or two with her, and she's like air hostess. My favorite Catherine Zeta-Jones scene is obviously from Mask of Zorro, but like going beyond that, this every Catherine Zeta-Jones movie is a great Catherine Zeta-Jones movie, but also Tom Hanks in this movie is one of those characters like a feel good character. Like you just watch him do things, and it doesn't feel entirely realistic. Obviously, they exaggerate some things for effect. What's the there was there's but I forget the name of the actor. Like all the people that work at the airport that he befriends are just like just amazing characters. And yeah, it's just a fun movie. I enjoy this so much. I grew up watching this. It's a personal favorite because I enjoy watching it with my mom, with my sister, my brother. My dad doesn't watch a lot of Hollywood movies, but like it's just we loved watching this movie because The Terminal is a movie that we can all relate
It's very
to,
again
and
Spielbergian,
yeah,
endearing.
Spielbergian, endearing. It has like some emotional moments, but by the way, there was a moment in this movie where some guys like basically trying to like take medicine or stuff in his suitcase, and the security doesn't let him pass because it's not allowed. Like you're technically importing or exporting protected like classes of items that you need to pay taxes on, or unless you have an import or export license, which is something where like, and there's a language barrier, and he's able to like help this person out by talking to him and explaining what's going on, and this other person's like, I'm in this dire situation, I need these things. And as an immigrant myself, like on a certain level, I can relate to that experience, at least, especially the language barrier thing, because English
Hmm.
is not my native language, and I didn't learn how to speak it fluently until I was like, I want to say like 8, 9 years old. So the imagery, the cinematography of this movie, I personally relate to it quite a bit. Not that I have spent 12 years in an airport, but for me, like Joaquin is saying, The Terminal is S tier, because it's just it's my favorite Spielberg and my favorite Tom Hanks movie ever. So that's a very subjective statement, but I that's just how I
So
feel
I
about it.
put it in S tier for you.
Yeah,
So yeah, but at
yeah.
the bottom.
It's
No
one of those
offense.
movies like I'll randomly point out to you. The Terminal is Steven Spielberg or Tom Hanks' best movie, and I have no. It's rare that I find people who agree with me on that, but I take a
Yeah,
lot of
buddy of mine.
enjoyment in saying
He
that.
fucking hates the term.
Like I don't get
He's-
it. I don't get the hate. Like I don't get how somebody could hate this movie. I mean, I get like maybe
um.
it feels like a nothing burger at the end because the story is really like you know
Yeah.
isolated.
He
Like
gave it
there's
like a
not
two
a
out of five. He was
yeah.
not a fan of it. So
If you're looking for a big adventure film, like a lot of Spielberg movies tend to be like they tend to expand outward. Like AI, took like 50,000 left and right turns, went through a maze, expanded outwards. Had a bunch of babies, and then had spored out a bunch more kids, and then ultimately like you end up in the future with aliens where humans are extinct. But The Terminal feels like a movie that's very insular, very different from like Saving Private Ryan, very different from even any of the Jurassic Park movies, but it's still a great film.
right.
So yeah.
But but yeah. So next up we
I'm glad I've
have
convinced M2G to watch this movie. It's
the
worth a
next
watch.
Tom Cruise Steven Spielberg collaboration, and the last is I've heard this is a very well adapted version of War of the Worlds.
It's the best War of the
Um,
Worlds adaptation ever made. It just is.
but there was the
Um,
one on BBC. I heard that one was pretty good. It was like a
yeah,
mini series.
there's also the new one that they were doing, unless you're talking about that one. And
And
then
there's
there's
also
like
the
the
one
really
with Ice
terrible
Cube, because remember
MGM
his son
one.
is hacking the government.
And then there's a
That's
terrible
my
MGM one which
favorite.
I hate
That's
watched.
my favorite War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
Just
I agree with you,
kidding. It's the
Enterprising.
1953 one. That one's the best and the most goated. I don't care how it's not adapting the source material properly. The source material can go fuck itself, because the 1953 War of the Worlds is fucking amazing. So get out of here.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what are your
I
thoughts? I
I
haven't seen the. I'm just joking around. I haven't seen this movie. I don't know.
the Steven Spielberg Tom Cruise War of the Worlds movie is the best adaptation of that story, outside of the original radio play and whatnot. The actual what Orson Welles did with that. But between the TV shows and the movies, I think this is the best one, because from the description of the aliens to how they go about like the Martians and stuff, it's also because most War of the World adaptations need to walk the line between adapting word for word very accurately the original story. I think, was it a book or was it a story? I forget if it was a short
It was a
story or what
book. It was.
was a
I think it
book.
might have been a
Um,
novella.
so but adapting that original book, you have to walk the line of you're doing it either as this is literally word to screen, page to screen, or or you make a movie where you have spiritually, thematically got everything about as right as possible, and the line that you're walking is you have to update it for the time, because the themes of War of the Worlds are timeless, but the iteration that you go about telling needs to feel relevant to the time that you're telling that story. The Ice Cube version that won a Razzie, or several Razzies, that one was a really bad example of updating it for the time, not only because of the premise, how they altered it for the time, but also the execution was fucking hilariously sad. But then there was like the MGM plus Epix version that that was basically a British, a French co-production that I fucking hate watched after the end of the first season, because they completely shit the bed on the story and then somehow focused on the work. Like, if you can imagine, Lizzie McGuire's brother character, but even worse and more of a a murderous psychopath with a mother who clearly has attention blindness to the idea that her son is a total, supervillain, while watching, a version of the show that had a lot of good, good ideas that ultimately did never really took them very far, or didn't have the budget or the means to properly deliver on a War of the Worlds TV show. That MGM Epix version of the show, one of the worst adaptations after the first few episodes I've ever seen. The new British adaptation that BBC was working on looks pretty good, or it might have already been out. I haven't seen all of it. I saw clips of it. Um,
Yeah, that came out a
but
couple of years ago
the
too.
Steven Spielberg, yeah, enterprising. That boy pissed me the fuck off. Like, I have never hate
Was it
watched
the
a
was
show
it the
before.
guy who played Goku in the god awful Dragon Ball Evolution movie? Is that the same
Maybe,
guy?
I don't know. It had what's her name, Daisy Edgar Jones in it, and I'm like, why are you languishing in this terrible adaptation, Daisy? Come on, you got to do better stuff. Gabriel Byrne was in it, and you could tell the guy was like, oh god, I'm just getting a paycheck now after season one. But anyway, we're talking about the Steven Spielberg Tom Hanks War of the Worlds. This is, like I said, the best cinematic, the best any adaptation of War of the Worlds period, because it does the job of balancing between updating the source material for the time and doing it in a way which still feels timeless enough that you go back and watch this movie today, other than recognizing the 50,000, 2004 Hyundai Sonatas in the movie that are getting tossed up in the air and destroyed in the background. The story feels pretty relevant for the time that we live in, because it's updated for the 21st century, late 20th, early 21st century, and it's done really well. And it goes to show you, whenever he's handling anything involving aliens outside of, AI, because I still think those look like aliens at the end of that movie, but Steven Spielberg knows how to do his aliens based stories really well. And obviously you got Tom Cruise in there. And Tom, when you get an actor of the caliber of Tom Cruise, it helps you out, because you don't have as big of a mountain to climb. So in terms of like getting the themes and ideas across, because the charisma of the actor carries you so much of the way. Like The Terminal was a great movie for me because Tom Hanks was the lead. This movie got elevated because Tom Cruise was the lead. And I love War of the Worlds. So this is my favorite iteration of War of the Worlds. I personally would put it. It's like, it's not from an iconic perspective the same level of iconic as all, the Jaws and everything, but I still, for me, is personally an S tier movie, because it is by far the best War of the Worlds adaptation anybody's ever made.
And then next up,
Yeah,
we got
and the little kid in this movie actually does a good job of acting. Yeah, which is rare to
then we
see.
get to the very very serious Munich.
Yeah, Dakota
Thoughts?
Fanning was great in this movie. Munich. So again, this is going back to the 1972 Olympics, and so Steven Spielberg, seemingly like every other movie he does, is like a period piece, and this is one of those. It focuses on the massacre of Israeli athletes at the 1972 Olympics. Again, an incredibly sad, tragic story. And by the way, this actually has Daniel Craig in the movie, and it's got Ayelet Zurer, hard name to pronounce, but went on to play uh, Henry Cavill, Superman's mom, in Man of Steel. Why am I forgetting the Kryptonian mother character?
Yeah,
Um,
Vanessa from Daredevil Born Again
Vanessa,
and Daredevil.
yes, yes. But I mean, Jeffrey Rush is in this movie, and it's a historically important film. Or if somebody wants to watch it back today, it might be a politically charged film, but it is Steven Spielberg being able to take a larger than life seemingly event and being able to tell it from a perspective of the characters, and just interweave real human emotion into a larger than life tragedy. And I mean, between Eric Bana and Daniel Craig, like there's some great acting in this, and I would say, for me, again, it's it is a harrowing movie in a lot of ways. It's relevant in many ways to what's going on in the world today. Maybe not in the most obvious of ways, that I'm just talking about like where the world is and what's in the headlines. There's not a direct connection to the events of this movie, but they are related. So it's not the kind of it's a tough watch. Like Enterprising was saying, it's not the kind of movie that you can just put on just, oh, I'm gonna watch a movie tonight. You have to kind of prepare yourself for it. I've run into movies like this before where I wasn't prepared to, and wasn't expecting it, like Schindler's List, for example. Um, yes, Isle Zero, but it's a great film. I would put it in A tier. It's an underrated movie because not as many people talk about it when you talk. It's not the first movie that comes to mind when you talk about Steven Spielberg. It did get nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. I don't know if it won or not, but it also got nominated for Best Director. So yeah, but like I said, it's the kind of movie that today you could look at as politically charged or stuff like that, or maybe not politically charged, but a movie that a lot of people will look at it from a political lens. But I think on a human level, this is another one of those like important movies that Spielberg has made. So yeah.
Okay. And then the next up, very important film. And then we go to Indiana Jones 4. What a leap, you know?
The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, yeah.
I would say, like, Minority Report, I would say is probably his most underrated. I would say this is probably his second most underrated. I don't hate this movie as like everyone else. I remember when I first watched it, I'm like, that was pretty good. And then the world told me it sucked, and I'm like, okay, I guess it sucks. And then when I got to a point in my life and I stopped giving a fuck what other people thought, then I'm like, no, I like this movie. It's not great. It's not as good as the other three, but you know what? It's a fucking Indiana Jones film through and through, and it fucking feels like it more than you can say about the fucking hackneyed bullshit attempt that James Mangold tried to do with Dial of Destiny. So, say what you will about it. I understand. Like, the biggest problems, it's like, okay, there's aliens in an Indiana Jones movie. I get it. And on top of the fact, it deals with very old, very racist themes of like old school civilizations being unable to make these great structures. Oh, but it
Mhm.
had to be aliens, right? So it does kind of bring about that awkward aspect, which I don't personally care for. However, if you are looking at it more surface level, it's a very enjoyable romp of a movie. It's not even close to Raiders or Temple or Crusade, but I think it's a decent film in its own effort, and it was a nice like callback. Like, it was an interesting, like having like Indiana Jones be in the Cold War. I didn't hate Mutt like everyone else did. I didn't think Shia LaBeouf was that bad.
No, no,
Um,
not yeah.
I think it was overall a well-made and done movie, and I thought it was engaging. Is it great? No. I'd probably rank it in B tier. I think it was a lot of fun. It's just the whole like, oh, fucking aliens made the pyramids and aliens did crop circles and aliens. It's like, no, Steven, they didn't do that. No, George Lucas, they didn't do that. That's just dumbasses on the History Channel past 9 p.m. being very, very racist and very, very
It was
stupid.
aliens.
So,
Yeah.
and I will say that's the one thing about Disclosure Day that annoys me is you do see the crop circles. It's like, Steven,
All the themes, it's all
dude,
there.
I thought we were
Yeah.
past this, bro. Come on now.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
we
it goes
know
again, it's
crop
like
circles were
AI where
not
like
aliens.
yes.
It's based
Yeah.
on old stupid ideas, chariots of the gods and all that dog shit. So it just it's annoying. I get that because I know a lot of people, like my buddy of mine, big history guy, hates this movie, really hates this movie because of that. And I understand that. I 100% understand that. But it doesn't ruin the movie for me. I get it. It sucks. And it's unfortunately it's a gigantic elephant in the room to talk about when talking about this movie in terms of someone who liked it. But even then, I still liked it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. It's a B tier for me.
Yeah, this became one of those movies that people think is cool to hate on, to the point where it does affect the story of, Dial of Destiny. But the Dial of Destiny showed us just how low a bar for Indiana Jones movie could get. It's just this movie is not as bad as some people remember it as being. It also goes to show you that when a filmmaker sticks to his convictions and the creative decisions are made with that strong sense of conviction in your storytelling ability, even when you don't have your best day at the office, you still make a great movie. And that's what Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is, unlike Dial of Destiny. And Dial of Destiny has its moments, but I feel like this is definitely a big step up from what we got a few years ago. Um, I feel like a lot of people probably would have enjoyed just them leaving the franchise there and rebooting it rather than bringing Harrison Ford back again for a fifth one. Although they gave him a more of a proper send off in Dial of Destiny. In an
I
ideal
don't
world,
think
I would
so.
take some elements because it's the whole idea of like he's still indie doing his thing somewhere in the distance and retiring. It's like it was more celebratory. I personally would like to in an ideal world, I would have liked to seen some of the elements of Dial of Destiny mixed in with a lot of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and that would be my
I
perfect
just
version.
feel like the
But
thing I didn't like, it
yeah, Ancient
felt
Aliens were a trend at the time. That's true, though. It was
for
not just this movie.
me.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, this started out in like the 90s. Again, it was supposed to be Indiana
yeah.
Jones and the Saucermen from Mars.
Hmm.
Short Round was supposed to make a cameo at the end when he married someone. It wasn't supposed to be Marion. It was supposed to be another character that he just met. It was very
Hmm.
weird. I've read bits and pieces of like what the treatment was supposed to be. It's very interesting how like different it was.
Trust him, bro.
But it just feels like Dial of Destiny. It's just it feels like Rise of Skywalker because it feels like okay,
Yeah.
people didn't like the last movie, so let's retroactively like scrub that from existence and then do the same thing over again, even though we literally saw everything done perfectly in the last movie but we're redoing it. Also, his son's now dead, and he's back with Marion
Was he
again. So it's like,
dead? No, was he dead? I thought there was a line of dialogue in the movie that like he's off doing other things. Am I wrong about
no,
that?
Mutt got killed during the Vietnam War. Like that was 100% a
Oh,
thing because
I'm
it was
totally
like
misremembering this.
he
Okay,
was like
yes.
trying to like talk with him, and he's like, oh, we had a fight. He was pissed at me, so he enlisted because I
Right,
didn't want him to enlist,
right.
and then he got killed in the Vietnam War.
Which to
So
have all that happen off screen just felt wrong.
yeah,
Like it's like
hundred
really,
percent.
bro? Yeah,
Yeah, but it's just
yeah.
like one, they didn't want to grab Shia LaBeouf back because he's like fucking insane now. And two, it's just like people didn't like Mutt, so let's kill him off. Oh yeah, let's get the chick from Fleabag and have her being an annoying sidekick that nobody likes. And sure, this works. Like, oh yeah, she's the goddaughter of Indiana. I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. Of
I
this
mean, look,
Toby Jones guy that we've never seen or heard of before.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's just
I look
ridiculous.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character I enjoyed for the most part. It's just in some ways it just felt like
I get
mischaracterized.
what they were
So
trying to do. And my friend pointed
yeah,
this out to me. I'm like, I get it. It still
yeah,
didn't work. It still because they were
right.
trying to make it her like what Indiana Jones was in Temple of
Hmm.
Doom, where he was
Right,
this like kind of asshole selling artifacts to the highest bidder.
right.
And so that's who she was. And it's just like, okay, fine. And like I get it, but it just wasn't executable. And it's just like, I'm just gonna say this, motherfuckers. Like, y'all motherfuckers fucking 18 years ago, you're like, oh, aliens don't belong in fucking Indiana Jones. Aliens this, aliens that, aliens don't belong here. Yet y'all motherfuckers are okay with time travel. Go fuck yourself. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. At least aliens, there's a probability that aliens are out there. I don't believe in the crop circle racist shit, but aliens most likely out there. Time travel impossible. So frankly, if you are willing to forgive aliens or not if you're willing to complain about aliens but like forgive time travel, frankly, suck my dick because go fuck yourself. That is some bullshit. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yep. Ooh. I mean, yeah.
No, I have not seen Shrinking, by the way. I have not
It
seen
is,
that.
by the way,
I've
some
heard
of
great things about it. My
it's
parents
some
love
of
it.
Harrison Ford's best work. It
Anyway,
might just be his best work.
where
So,
would you rank it?
okay. Uh, mm, I put it in A tier. I kind of am a little partial. I was thinking about B tier, but I'd put it in A tier considering some of the other movies that are in there.
Okay, okay. Fine. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Love for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I
Although,
enjoy. I feel like my opinion is a lot higher than most people. Most people hate on this movie way too much.
oh yeah, 100%. It's just
I
that's
mean,
the
was
elephant in the room is just
they
kind
had
of
Kate Blanchett in the
prickling on the
movie.
back of my neck.
Like Kate
That's all.
Blanchett was in this movie. Like every movie she's in is a great movie. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And then honestly, I would say that this is probably the most. Here's the thing. I'm like kind of toss up between Minority Report and this, between the most underrated Spielberg movie. But the thing is, Minority Report, nobody talks about Minority Report. However, I still see people talking about Adventures of Tintin. So
yeah.
I
This is
feel like, but the thing is, and I think people were, because it kind of had the Robert Zemeckis thing where they were put off by the technology or whatever, which I understand. But guys, it's so fucking good. I would say this might be S tier. Like straight up, like this was one of my favorite movies until I like started watching more movies. But this
Mhm.
again, this is the best fifth Indiana Jones movie if I had to say so. Because like
A
Tintin is
lot better
always
than
like this
Uncharted, yeah.
this great character, and like I remember like reading some of the I remember because I was in French class, so I watched some of the episodes, we read some of the stories of
Mhm.
Tintin. Jamie Bell does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis is great in this. Spielberg, brilliant. And then Joe Cornish, Edgar Wright, and Stephen Moffat wrote the script, and all of their tidbits show up here, and it's so fucking good. It like if you haven't seen Adventures of Tintin, honestly, please go watch it. Like it's so close with my like Minority Report. I'm like back and forth because I was like, oh yeah, definitely Minority Report. I can't believe I forgot about Adventures of Tintin, but Adventures of Tintin, goddamn, I want to see a sequel. I want to. I don't care how long it's been since it's mocap. They can get away with like aging and shit. I want to
Right.
see Prisoners of the Sun, bro. I want to see that goddamn Peter Jackson. I don't give a fuck about Lord of the Rings number 79, and you gotta fucking milk that franchise for all it's worth. I don't give a fuck. Give me fucking Tintin 2, motherfucker. I want Tintin 2. That's all I want. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, John, this is the famous prequel to the upcoming Peter Jackson Tintin movie, right? Uh, that will potentially never get made.
It will
But
never get made, but
The Adventures of Tintin is, we talk about underrated. This might be the most underrated Steven Spielberg movie ever made. Uh, it is a lot of fun. It to me was as surprising as watching the Polar Express was, and just not expecting to get so much out of a movie like this. It's not the best looking animated movie, but it certainly like makes up for it, and all the storytelling and the character work, like you said. Uh, it's it's a movie that has a cult following, and it deserves to have one. And the fact that Peter Jackson's been talking about doing a sequel for 12 years, get on it, please, like you were saying, John. And yeah, Spielberg goes to show you again, he knows how to do animation just as well as he does live action stuff, and he's rarely done animated movies, but this is one of those, and it was just really well executed. So I think it's not as well known because it's based on a French set of stories, right? So it's just people are not as familiar with Tintin outside of that, you know Franco sphere, I guess. I don't know if that's a word. um but yeah, Enterprising was talking about a Belgium adventure comic plus watching the animated series on Nickelodeon as a kid. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Tintin is great. I don't know, John. I would go with your
I'm
pick
stuck
on
between
this.
S and A tier. I think it's not quite as icon. It's like so close to S tier for me, but like I don't feel comfortable putting it on the same like greatness of Saving Private Ryan and Indiana Jones
I
and
mean,
Jaws and E.T. So I think
yeah,
I'm gonna put it in A tier, but it's a tough, very tough
it's a
A
tough one.
tier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is a tough one. But yeah, I think it belongs in A tier, rightfully so.
So next up is Warhorse.
That's a
I
you
believe
movie.
I have you seen this one? I forget.
I have not. I don't do. I just don't like watching horse based
I thought
movies.
this movie was great. It's a little
Like,
Oscar baity, I guess. I never got
yeah.
that from the movie,
I remember they
personally.
marketed the hell out of this. It just never quite appealed to me. Uh,
It was a great
yeah.
war film. In terms of, it's kind of maybe a little forgettable. I thought it was great. Like I saw the play, I saw this movie. I thought it was I thought it was well done. I really enjoyed this one. It's not like in terms of the pantheon of greatness. I don't think it's up there S or A tier. I probably put it in B tier. I think it's better than B tier, but like again, we've put so many great movies in A tier. I can't see it being with that because it's a little forgettable. It's just it's in terms of you know, it's tough. I might put it in A tier because I do really like this movie, but again, I haven't seen it in fucking like 15 years. So and it's not what it's in terms of like war films by Spielberg. It's not his best, but I still thought it was a good time. So I'm gonna be quick with this. I'll put it in A tier. Because B tier, it's a fucking hell of a lot better than Lost World and Twilight Zone. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but better than a whole
Yeah, agreed.
bunch of these. Next, we have Lincoln. I didn't really care for Lincoln. I thought it was kind of boring, a little slow paced. Very great performance from Daniel Day Lewis, as always.
I mean, wasn't
Um,
this the going out on a high just before he retired? Daniel Day Lewis's
no,
last
Phantom Thread
big.
was his last movie.
Was
That
it
was
Phantom?
about
Okay.
3, 4 years later, I think.
Yeah,
And
but I
and
mean,
then he
Lincoln.
came back out of retirement to do his son's
And
movie, and
I,
then
it's fine. But like his actual retirement. Did this not win an Oscar for Daniel Day
no, it
Lewis?
was
Am I
nominated. It might have won like a
nominated? Okay.
couple technical
Um,
things, but I don't remember.
this is a very like Steven Spielberg. Even the movies that aren't even the movies that are smaller feel like they're big on adventure and this like the Spielbergian nature. Lincoln didn't feel very Spielbergian. It was probably the most character heavy, like character drama heavy movie that Spielberg has ever done. But when you're working with Daniel Day Lewis, you're like, all right, well, I guess this is what we're gonna go for. He did win. Okay, yeah, I
Okay.
thought he did win. I was like, I remember watching that year, and Daniel Day Lewis won
Um,
for best actor. So
I
yeah,
prefer when he fought vampires.
people always make the Lincoln the Vampire Slayer. No, Lincoln or so those are always intertwined because
Yeah.
it came out around the same time. Almost
Yeah. I'd
counter
probably put
programming
it in
each
C
other.
tier. I don't really care for this movie. I thought it was so fucking boring. It was just so
Same.
lame to me. Like it's just like probably his like this is
You're
probably
right,
my
Stacy.
honestly this might be my least favorite film from him. It's just it's not D
I
tier because
don't.
it's just it's not like it's not a bad movie. It's just like it's so fucking boring.
I
It's
get it.
so boring.
I'm
It's
not
like
gonna put
I
it in
just
S tier. I'm not gonna put it in A tier. I think it's B tier for me, if I'm being honest. Like I feel like
I'll
B
I'll
tier is
I'll
fair.
sacrifice the B
Uh,
tier, I
I
guess.
mean, it's
But
an Oscar-winning movie.
okay,
It
yeah.
is
So was
it is the
Shakespeare in
whole
Love, and look how that turned out. So
right.
you know,
But nobody's gonna tell you like, oh, Daniel Day Lewis did not deserve to win, or was a huge upset that he won for Lincoln. I know A tier and S tier for some of you guys. I personally put it in B tier because again, it's hard to sit through and not in a good
Mhm.
way in the sense that like Oppenheimer flies, Lincoln does not quite fly. The pacing was definitely an issue, and it's just a little too dry at the end of the day. But it's like I said, it's the most character heavy, like character work heavy Spielberg movie I think there's ever been. It really there's not like you're not watching this movie for the childhood sense of wonderment. You're not watching this movie for
You're
the
watching for more like
adventure.
Saving Private Ryan Spielberg, but it's not
Yeah,
nearly as
but
good.
it's still you don't have that it's brutal, but like at least there's this adventurous aspect of World War II. These guys are going to rescue this soldier. There's nothing like that in Lincoln, for you to kind of like expand your horizons in that way. It's
Right.
not a getaway from. It's like you go to the movies to escape your day to day stressors. This movie kind of stresses you out at times. Uh, but I mean Daniel Day
Although
Lewis's
it is
performance and
ironic that an
dedication is great.
Irishman
So
plays an American president. So
yeah, well
very ironic.
there's
But
always that.
anyway,
Uh,
next up is Bridge of Spies. This is all on you. I remember you
yeah.
were talking my ear off about it, so I'm curious to
I
know your
yeah,
thoughts.
again another underrated movie is his end collaboration with Tom Hanks. One of the more recent ones. This movie came out in 2015. It's only 11 years old. Not even quite 11 years old because it came out like in October of 2015. But it is a pre-pandemic film, one of the last of his pre-pandemic era now that we're going to talk about. It did get nominated for like best picture and stuff, and a lot of people thought it was a
Mark
dark horse.
Rylance won best actor,
Yeah,
best supporting actor, I think.
best supporting actor for this. Uh, it's a really well-made movie because it's about the Cold War, and Tom Hanks plays his attorney who's negotiating. I think there's by the way, the Coen brothers wrote this. They're negotiating an exchange, I think it is,
Hmm.
of people from both to two sides of the Berlin Wall, the East Germany, West Germany, and yeah. So this is based on a true story of a U-2 pilot who got captured by the Soviet Union in West Germany and trying to negotiate his release and stuff. So a lot of dialogue heavy scenes and stuff. It's not a movie that has a lot of action in it, but it's surprisingly compelling. This is the kind of movie where if you want to have a more low-key Steven Spielberg film that doesn't stress you out, but it has drama, but it's captivating and it's not boring. This is and it's a bit of a suspense thriller, because they keep the tension pretty high throughout. It's immersive in the sense that it really gives you that sense of dread and paranoia that was East and West Germany, especially if you'd lived near the border between the two and the walls. So I agree with the M2G. I think for me this is an A-tier movie. It doesn't quite pass the muster for like that S tier of movies we've been talking about, but this is definitely an A-tier movie, and it's probably one of the least well-known Spielberg movies that a lot of people missed out on, and I highly recommend you go check it out if you haven't already.
Okay.
That A tier is getting real busy.
Now we got another Mark Rylance collaboration.
Yeah.
BFG. Neither of us have seen it. Apparently, this was kind of one of those movies where I didn't realize. I thought like it was because I remember hearing about it. Like, oh, it like kind of came and went. Nobody really talked about it. But from the few people that saw it, I was like, oh, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was
No, I
fun.
always
It
thought
it
this was
worked.
really loved.
Yeah, I
You
thought this
know?
was really loved. Apparently not.
Yeah.
Apparently, a lot of the book readers did not like this movie, as usual. That it was more Spielberg whimsy than Roald Dahl darkness
Mm.
than people cared for because, like, pretty much we're like, I grew up with this
I
book
love Roald
and
Dahl books, by the way. Yeah, yeah.
um, they're like, oh, the who needed an adaptation of the BFG? It was perfect as is. Fuck you for making this adaptation. So a lot of the book readers were mad. And then I was looking through some reviews at the time. They're like, oh yeah, it's fine, it's whatever. So I guess it was not as well loved as I thought. And apparently AI is the beloved movie, and BFG is the one that's thrown to the wolves. So sure. I can't judge it because I haven't seen it. But I mean, I remember seeing trailers for this, and it didn't look that bad. I mean, very Disney Spielberg type of movie, but I guess that's not what people wanted. So
Yeah, it's kind
yeah,
of like some people would have thought that that was the perfect marriage of, in terms of like synchronization between two iconic brands of, like you said, whimsies,
whimsy.
like Disney, Spielbergian Disney movie on paper sounds like the perfect marriage, in terms of Hollywood storytelling. Somehow didn't work out. It was a big flop. They made it for around 140 million dollars. It only ended up making 195 million. So the estimates are that it might have lost Disney up to 100 million dollars. I have it on Blu-ray. It's a fun film. I think it deserved a lot better. I believe audiences found it more during the pandemic because this came out a few years before the pandemic. And it's a movie that just a lot of people didn't see. The box office reflects that. I feel like this movie deserved better. I would put it in C tier because again, I feel like our A tier, B tier are well, actually, you know what? No, I would put it in B tier.
Yeah, I
It's
think B
not
tier
quite good
makes
enough for
sense.
A tier. It's definitely not S tier. I think B tier. It's just a movie that a lot of people missed out on. But it goes to show you the quality of filmmaking that's a filmmaker that Spielberg is. Even his B tier movies feel like some underrated movies, and most of them are. By the way, I also love watching cricket. My first love in sports, Stacy. So always will love cricket. Um, yeah, but let's talk about the post. Uh, John, you saw this one?
Nope.
Well, I did. Of course, this is based on. I believe this. Okay, if I'm remembering this correctly, this is based on the Washington Post. That's why it's in the title, and publishing the Pentagon Papers. And of course, you got Meryl Streep in this alongside Tom Hanks. Again, the nth collaboration between Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. And it's based in the 70s. And if you guys know about the Pentagon Papers story, yeah, it's Carrie Catherine Graham is the first female publisher of a major American newspaper, which of course the Washington Post, and Tom Hanks plays the editor, Ben Bradley, and Meryl Streep plays, the female publisher. And Pentagon Papers, it's talking about the massive government cover up. And I mean, talk about government cover up. Steven Spielberg's Sears light up. Aliens? No, but this is something different. So yeah, um, it's more of one of those, like, based on a true story movies that Steven Spielberg is the kind of filmmaker you would think makes more of these like fictionalized fantasies, whereas this movie very much is telling a real life story. It was nominated for Best Picture. I don't think it won a lot of the big awards, but it was one of those movies where you're like, how can you not nominate it for all these, best picture, best director, and those kind of awards. The cast is pretty stacked beyond Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. You had Bob Odenkirk in this. You had Sarah Paulson in this. Carrie Coon was in this movie, and it's done really well. It's the kind of movie that I would just probably, most of the time just watch it in the afternoon. It just comes on, you just put it on. It's a fun retelling of a real life story, and it's just like it's a more entertaining version of watching some, or learning about that story than watching a documentary. So at that level, it's fun, and I'd say fun. It's not like fun, like, oh my god, I was laughing my way through the movie. No, there's a bit of a thriller suspense element to it, but I enjoyed it. I would put it in B tier because, again, it's not quite iconic enough to be A tier, and it's certainly not.
Although a buddy of mine
cinema.
fucking absolutely hated this movie. He's like, this is just
So
Oscar bait, boring drivel.
that's
That's a ripoff of all the President's Men.
Oscar bait. Definitely, I think is one way to describe it. That's probably one of maybe 2 or 3 movies on this list that feel like that. By the way, to answer your question, Stacy, an E.T. Legacy qual, I think we're way too late for that. There's no reason to do one of those.
Also, Ready Player One, nostalgia slop the movie.
It literally is nostalgia. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty much
so fucking inconsistent and terrible.
I would say, honestly, I remember Red Letter Media made a really good review of this movie. Literally everything with the kids when they're together in their human forms is really good and feels like a Spielberg movie, and the rest is dog shit. And I'm like, honestly, yeah, I can kind of agree with that. Like, pretty much, I think, like, Ty Sheridan and, Olivia Cook, all these other people, I think Ben Mendelsohn, Simon Pegg, Mark Rylance, they all do a good job. And the thing is, when they're, like, actually interacting with each other, not in the fucking metaverse, whatever the fuck it is, I don't even know, that
I mean, at the time it would have been that, whatever, now the metaverse
whatever
is
the
dead.
fuck it was. And the thing is, I'd be like, okay, cool. But the thing is, it's just like everything, it's just like movie reference, character reference, movie. It's just like, I mean, when I first watched it, and I think the third act is fun. Like, it's, like kind of like Endgame, where it's like you slog through the first two acts of nostalgia crap, then the last act is fun. This was Endgame, or did this come out the same year? Was this 2017 or 2019?
It came out a year before.
Okay, so like I'm willing to bet the Russo brothers watched this and they're like, hey, I have an idea. And
well, they would have been in production on and
but I'm just kidding, of course. But
anyway,
yeah, it's just like, it just kind of like, because the thing is, I've read passages from Ready Player One, and it's a pretty terrible written book. Like, it's like I drank my new Coke while I stepped in my Air Jordans, and I went to The Shining and had my Nintendo light gun on my. It's just like, it's just like that level. And it just, I've heard that the main character in the book is way more of an asshole and way more annoying, so at least they made him likable here. It's just like, I remember I liked it when I first watched it, but but after, thinking about it, like, it's just like, it's so forgettable, and it's just like, it's just such a bland message of like, hey, turn off technology every once in a while. It's like, wow, thanks, Spielberg. Never would have fucking figured that one out. So it's pretty much everything in the real world. You know what it's like? One more thing before you could say anything, sorry. It's kind of like my thoughts on Doctor Strange 2, or like, everything that's a Sam Raimi movie is great, everything's an MC movie that sucks. Everything in the real world feels like a proper Spielberg movie. Everything in the fucking metaverse feels like Russo brothers nostalgia slop. That is essentially this movie. It's
Yeah.
fine. I'd probably put it, if I was being nice,
Mm,
I'd probably put it in B tier. But honestly, now remembering it, and I'd probably put it in C tier.
Yeah, I Ty Sheridan for me is just not. He can't carry a movie. Olivia Cook, has been in so many better projects since. Um, this movie is one of a few examples of Steven Spielberg is old man that's out of touch shouting at the sky films, where like artificial intelligence, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, bro. Like, oh, like we were talking about, like we have moved past the whole, ancient aliens, crop circles. It's, if you want to address aliens in a way, you could do it in a meta commentary way, but let's kind of like have the grown up take of like, where just the nostalgia elements. It just, this movie never appealed to me when the trailers were out there, and it was just so sloppy. And then also the visual execution of this movie ultimately, um, just did not feel like it was very consistent.
Yeah, it just feels weird and
Yeah.
disjointed.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, cat on the keyboard.
I'd probably put it in C tier. What about you?
Sorry, I can't hear you because my cat's on the keyboard.
Sure.
I would put it in. I would put it in like D tier.
Okay,
Yeah.
hang on. Mm.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you at all. Georgie. What the? I don't know what I'm even hearing right now.
I'm not talking. God damn it.
I
Okay,
yeah, exactly. I'm hearing something, and it's not you. So
I'm gonna put it in C tier because I have the power now. So C tier it is.
yeah, C tier. I think that's fine. I was gonna put it in D tier. Oh, there we go. I got rid of whatever I was hearing all of a sudden. It's just like I don't know how the
Can you
keys.
can you hear me now or no?
Yes, I can hear you now. Sorry, I
Okay, I
don't know
put it in
why
C
she's
tier
just
because I
sitting on
don't think
the.
it's that
Yeah.
atrociously awful, because there are some good aspects of it, but like not the greatest thing ever. Although West Side Story, I haven't seen this. You haven't seen this. I've heard it's pretty
I've
good.
seen a lot of the movie because I've seen all the the songs, and I just haven't seen the whole movie. I really enjoy this film. I think for somebody who doesn't enjoy a lot of Hollywood musicals, because I feel like they are, just inferior to what I grew up watching with most Bollywood musicals. Like not every single one, but they just do it better. Steven Spielberg does a great job of not reinventing the wheel, but giving us a new iteration of what was already a classic, one of the greatest, um, you know, uh, plays turned into like, just musicals in general. And for a lot of people, this is as good as the original, if not better. And I couldn't agree with them anymore. It just, whoever thought that Spielberg could do this good of a job with a musical, like it's a lot of fun. And so I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's not a modern Spielberg classic because I definitely feel like he's past his prime. But as a storyteller, we'll see if Disclosure Day can kind of bring him back into prime Spielberg form. I would personally put it in B tier for me if I had to choose.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we get to his newest film, which I have seen, The Fablemans. I remember really, really loving this when I first watched it, and then oh, there they go. I remember really, really loving it when I first watched it. I mean, this was the first good film Seth Rogen was ever been in, so that's something. Um, but I thought it was. On the second watch, I thought it was. I think it went down from like close to S tier to close to A tier. Like it's still very good, maybe even B tier. like it's I would say it's like B plus tier, like if I had to choose, because it does have a lot of really good aspects. It's just like it has like some weirder aspects I didn't care for. Like the fucking mother was a goddamn loony bird. And I was like, what the fuck is this with this character? But I feel like this was sort of because I know well Saving Private Ryan was the first thing, but this was like kind of like Spielberg correcting history because he didn't realize until much later that because I mean this was about his life, obviously. He didn't realize until much later that his father wasn't the bad guy in this because like his mom was like emotionally cheating on the father on his father with like whomstever and he didn't know the truth, so he spent years and years hating his father, and then he found out the truth and realized. So in this movie, he was like trying to like go back and correct history, where it was like he knew from the beginning that his mother, fucked their relationship and all that. So I thought that that was an interesting tidbit. But overall, I'd probably be nice and put it in A tier. I thought it was a very good movie. It had a lot of very good aspects. It's just not incredibly memorable. And the thing is, Spielberg has put himself in a lot of his movies, so this doesn't really feel that special. Like it's like we've kind of seen this song and dance before. It's just now we're like so literal about like, you know what? I'll just do an autobiography. And that's essentially what he did. Even though we've seen bits and pieces like Saving Private Ryan, E.T., even the Twilight Zone movie, we see bits and pieces of himself and his culture and his like ancestry and his like parentage and all that in a lot of his movies. So Fablemans doesn't feel too special, but it's still a very good movie. And I think the main kid, Gabriel something or other, he was in Saturday Night, he was in Snack Shack, he
Yeah.
was in a whole bunch of stuff that
Mhm.
I think that he has proven himself as an actor. So
Yeah, isn't this like
yeah,
semi-autobiographical?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
It's
yeah.
essentially an autobiography.
And it's this felt like also like a little bit of a love letter to his love of cinema and where that
Oh
comes
yeah, of
from,
course.
Spielberg, right? So, um, oh, Steven's having Popeyes right now. Wow. Okay, Steven. Uh, I enjoyed the parts of the movie that I've seen. It's and all the reviews for this were fantastic. It's definitely like Spielberg went and said, "I'm gonna do one for me now," and you know what? He's more than earned it at this point. So, yeah, it's a love letter to himself. Definitely not his best work. I don't think anybody's expecting it to be. But John, I'll go off of your rating because you have seen the whole film. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I would give it a tier. Um, I just think B tier is a little bit too low, especially with what we've
Mm-hmm.
ranked in B tier. Maybe on a different list, maybe in my own personal list, I'd probably put it in B tier. But yeah, I think that this
Yeah.
was a lot of S, a lot of A, a lot of
A lot of
A.
S and a lot of A. Yeah.
So this was the official
That
list.
is one
Um,
hell of a tier list. We've never listed this many movies or anything in a tier list before.
yeah,
That's the
35.
biggest tier list we've ever done.
So, in terms
Yeah.
of our list, we have
Woo.
Jaws, Close Encounters, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, Last Crusade, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, The Terminal, and War of the Worlds in S. Then we have Duel, Temple of Doom, Color Purple, Empire of the Sun, Amistad, Minority Report, Catch Me If You Can, Munich, Crystal Skull, Tintin, Warhorse, Bridge of Spies, and Fablemans in A. Then Twilight Zone, Sugarland Express, Always, Hook, Lost World, Lincoln, BFG, Post, and West Side Story in B. 1941 and Ready Player One in C. And then AI in D tier. Now, in terms of what you guys had to say, um, Jurassic Park is 4 in S, Schindler's List 4 in S, Jaws 4 in S, E.T. 4 in S, Last Crusade 3 in S, 1 in A, Saving Private Ryan 3 in S, 1 in D. We know who that is. Raiders of the Lost Ark 3 in S, Close Encounters 2 in S, 1 in A, 1 in
Come on.
B. Duel is even off across the board, 1 in S, A, and B. Color Purple 1 in S, 3 in A.
Oh
Same with
wow.
Minority
Okay.
Report, Catch Me If You Can, 3 in A, 1 in B. Empire of the Sun, 1 in S, 2 in A, 1 in B. Hook, 2 in A, 2 in B. Amistad, 1, 2, 1. Tintin 2 and A, 1 and D, motherfucker. Warhorse 2 and A, 1 and C. Bridge
Mm-hmm.
of Spies 2 and A, 1 and B, 1 and C. The Post 2 and A, 2 and B. Fablemans 2A, 1B, 1C. Temple of Doom 1S, 2A. Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull 1A, 1B, 1D. Always 3 and B, BFG 3B, 1C. West Side Story 1A, 3B. Lost World Jurassic Park 1A, 2B, 1C. Terminal 1S, 1A, 2B. War of the Worlds 1S, 1A, 1 2B. Same with Munich. Same with Lincoln. Sugarland Express 2 and B, 1 and C. 1941, same thing. Twilight Zone 1A, 2B. Ready Player One 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. And then AI 2 and D, 1 and B. And then the average vote evens everything out. Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Jaws, Raiders, E.T., and Last Crusade all remain in S. Temple of Doom, Color Purple, Minority Report, Third Kind, Empire of the Sun, Amistad, Saving Private Ryan, Duel, Catch Me If You Can, Terminal, War of the Worlds, Munich, Lincoln, Hook, and The Post are in A. Warhorse, Twilight Zone, Bridge of Spies, West Side Story, Fablemans, Always, Lost World, Tintin, BFG, Indiana Jones, Sugarland Express, 1941 all in B. And then Ready Player One and AI are in C tier. So
Yeah.
go vote if you have not already. I'm
The
going to
link is
vote
in the
for my own
chat.
personal list.
It's
So
in the chat. It's in the description. The link is there. You guys can go vote on Tier Maker, and then the poll expires in a week, so we'll go over the final tally on next week's Tier List Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, for some people, there's nothing in this list of movies that belongs in D tier, which is pretty epic considering he's been working across 4 or 5 decades, and he's still managed to keep that bar so high so consistently. But before we finish up, I did want to respond to a couple of questions that we had coming in that we didn't get a chance to talk about. Stacy was asking, what actor or actress that Spielberg has not yet worked with would you want him to work with? Not work with that I would want him to work with. I feel like do something with David Cornsweet, and that's not just because we're DC, DC Daily on this channel and all that, but I feel like David Cornsweet could be a great many characters would feel very Spielbergian, especially like his iteration of Superman feels very Spielbergian, so he could do a great job with that. I would also love to see if he would work with somebody like a Coleman Domingo, although I feel like that's actually isn't Coleman Domingo in
no,
Disclosure
Coleman
Day? So I feel
Domingo
like
is
that
in
box
Disclosure Day.
so that box is about to get checked. So no worries
I would love
there.
to see him with like Matthew
Um
Lillard or Sam Rockwell if he hasn't. I think those would be really good
yeah,
choices.
right. Yeah, I would also love to see if he's able to introduce some more fresh faces to the business before he retires.
Kind of like what he did with Gabriel something or other. Again, I keep forgetting his name, but the main kid from Fablemans. So
Right, exactly. Gabriel Labello, I think it was.
LaBelle, yeah,
Um
I think that's what it was.
LaBelle, yeah, LaBelle. But anyway, so thank you for the question, Stacey. Another one: what Jack Nicholson and Steven Spielberg movie should have been made in the 1980s? I would have loved a Spielberg Jack Nicholson Joker movie, or uh, I'm trying to think if they had done. I mean, with Jack Nicholson in the movie.
Like a war movie would probably be good.
Yeah, maybe like another World War movie, or if he added Jack Nicholson to the cast of one of those movies that he has done, could have worked really well.
Hmm.
Then Steven was asking the question: did Steven Spielberg say he's doing a Western next? Yes, he did. He's been talking about it on multiple occasions. He's mentioned it on a few different occasions, including at CinemaCon this year. Steven Spielberg said, "Look, a Western, that's next. That's the hope." So, in his own words, and so that looks to
Hmm.
be the next movie he's going to take on is a proper Western, even though he's done some neo Westerns before, at least once or twice. So I feel like this would be the very first time he's attempting to do a proper Western film. Yeah, let's see. Disclosure Day. Are you looking forward to? You know what? We did this whole tier list in honor of Disclosure Day. I wonder where Disclosure Day will land in the tier list of Spielberg films. I think John, you and I can speak on both of our behalves that we are both really looking forward to that.
Hmm.
Uh, Even if it feels like there's some elements in there that feel a little dated. But yeah. So, if Gunn and Safran go, would Dan B. Stafford. No, of course, no. Let's be real. But thank you for joining us on the show, and thank you for watching. We're not quite done yet, John, because the last thing we always do is look at the poll for the next specialty show we have this week, which is Fancast Friday. And John, you put up the poll, so walk us through the options.
So for the vestiges from last week is Kit Kat Heist Bandits, even though the Kit Kat story is way past relevant, but then we also did MCU projects, which is guessing what project is what in the 2028 to 2029 slate, because I believe 3 or 4 more films were added. So we're like, let's try and figure it out and see which one is which, because there's only hearsay and rumor that, oh, X-Men's coming out this year, Blade will never come out, or will it, or Midnight Suns instead. So we're going to do that. And then Lord and Miller future films, well, what would be the best things for them to adapt? Whether it be DC, whether it be going back to Marvel in more of an MCU role rather than the Spider-Verse, or adapting something, see what they can do. The only one we know for sure is Artemis. I think that's going to have Jenna Ortega in it, which is another Andy Weir novel. So, and maybe if like it's going to happen, a Project Hail Mary sequel, but I don't think that's going to happen. And then what would you fan cast for a third Superman film villain? Like, because Brainiac is going to be Man of Tomorrow. Yeah, oh, it's not a Superman film. It's a Superman. It's a fucking Superman sequel. Shut the fuck up. Just like, oh, BVS isn't a super. It's a fucking Superman. It's a Man of Steel sequel. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, so what would the villain of that movie be? Well, we could figure it out, and we'll see. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's winning right now. It's got almost half the vote, 43% of the vote.
I mean, Ilya
Superman
Salkind
film.
wanted him to direct Superman in 1978, but the thing is, he was only known as like because when they were getting it off the ground, which was like the early mid 70s, they're like, oh, this Spielberg guy, I think he would be perfect. And it's like, oh, the guy doing that shitty shark movie, he went over budget. No, we're not dealing with him. And then fucking, Jaws came out and it was a huge hit, and they're like, now he's way too expensive for us to fucking hire him. So yeah, we can't do that.
I'm sure if he really wanted to do it, he would have taken a pay cut to do it, but it just seems like that's not what Spielberg really wanted to do. And the only superhero thing that closest we've gone is like he wanted to do a Black Hawk Down. Was that the one?
Black Hawk.
Or just Black Hawk. Black Hawk Down is a different thing. He just wanted to do the Black Hawk movie, which I guess is somewhere in the ether that he still wants to do it eventually. But
just watch Masters of the Air. It's essentially the same thing anyway.
Which is that, and then Spielberg was a part of that. Not directing, but he produced it.
But he produced it, so.
With Austin Butler and all on Apple TV. I would also like to see Spielberg direct another animated movie. Yeah, I would love to see him do an animated film. Something original. I don't think he's going to do an IP based story, but I would love to see Spielberg do something animated. It does take more time to get animated movies out the door, which is why Spielberg's only done it like once or twice, if at all. John, this was a great tier list Tuesday. Probably the longest we've ever done, but we had 35 Steven Spielberg movies to rank, and he's got one more on the way coming out this year, Disclosure Day. We'll be talking about it, reviewing it when it comes out, and we'll maybe do an update to this tier list, and not like rehash the whole tier list, but we'll tell you what we think Disclosure. Where do we think Disclosure Day belongs on that list? But thank you for joining us, and if you are still watching, whether we're watching live or after the fact, hit the like button. We appreciate the company and the participation. The tier list link is up right now in the chat, and it's also in the description of the video, as is the link to vote for Fancast Friday. Or you can just simply go to youtube.com/osocurious and go to the community or the post sections, and the poll for Fancast Friday is there. And the link to the poll for Tier List Tuesday for your tier list of Spielberg movies is in the description down below. So with that, we're going to wrap things up. Hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the show. Hit the dislike button if you didn't enjoy the show. The interaction is what counts. And then get in the comments, let us know where you would put some of those Steven Spielberg movies on your tier list. we'd love to hear from you. So with that, John, we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of DCU Daily. We'll be back on Thursday as well with DCU Daily. Hopefully we'll be talking about the Clayface trailer tomorrow on Wednesday's DCU Daily. And then of course it's Earth Day on is it today, like Wednesday Earth Day,
today.
or so Wednesday is Earth Day, so we'll celebrate that, I'm sure. And then on Friday
I'm gonna litter
we'll have
extra
DCU
hard
Daily.
today.
Please do. On Friday we'll do DCU Daily, and then we'll have Fancast Friday. Until then, enjoy all the movies that you didn't even know were Spielberg movies, and go watch those if you haven't already. Thundercats movie by Spielberg would be a great pick, by the way. And that's it. John, anything else you want to add to that?
Nope.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Fuck.